15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Okay, now Deshaun Watson might be open for a trade. All right, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We're going to get to a lot of football today, both college, pro. We got a lot of baseball to get to as well. But before we get to anything, Perloff, really serious situation that happened, obviously, with Hurricane Milton. And now the hurricane looks that it is passed over Florida, and we're just watching the images on TV. It is so scary looking. The images from Tropicana Field were unreal, with basically the roof kind of flying, bits of the roof flying off. It was crazy. And obviously we're thinking of everyone down there.
Yeah, so I guess the hurricane is now over the ocean, which is good news. A lot of people without power. Our friend Tony Dungy, at least a guy who used to be around the DP show a lot, said that his neighborhood had minimal damage in North Tampa. So that's good. I think that it's still an assessing the damage thing. That the images of the stadium, if you haven't seen them yet, look them up on the internet. That is wild.
It is crazy. And now you said it, 3 million people without power. We have no idea when. Obviously, they're going to get that back. The flooding, and just hoping that everyone heeded the call, right, to get out, get away. No heroes here, not worth it. And so we're going to be keeping an update on that. Geez, some of these images of things on fire, it is just crazy. We're going to try to distract, try to entertain as much as we can. And this Deshaun Watson thing, you can't say that it really came out of nowhere, Pearl.
Well, I don't know what is real. There was a lot, like some of these football websites were spreading a rumor around that Deshaun Watson. I'm not even sure where this story came from, but I think it took it to the next level because Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, decided that was enough to write a long piece on how this could work. Let's face it, if you pull back, like Deshaun Watson cannot be a Cleveland Brown next year. I'm sorry, like this experiment has gone so bad. He looks miserable there. They look miserable with him. It feels like every trade, we're talking a lot about Davante Adams. Everyone's like, it's the money, it's the money, it's the money. At a certain point, there's just reality. Like, this player cannot be on this team. It's a bad look for Cleveland. It's a bad look for him. So make it happen, Maggie.
You want me to? What?
Yeah, you're a capologist.
Get on the phone. That's only in my spare time. Here's the thing. We see this a lot more in the NBA than we do in at the NFL, where the contract is terrible the moment the pen hits the paper. Where you don't even get like a celebratory, oh, this could work out. It almost feels maybe I'm just looking at it in hindsight.
Oh, yeah.
But it felt bad the moment it happened.
No. That is hindsight. We thought at the time that Cleveland won the Deshaun Watson lottery.
They won it, but this is a franchise that's been dysfunctional, a franchise with terrible ownership, a franchise that has cycled through quarterbacks and head coaches. Yeah. They have a good defense, so we thought, all right, they have a good defense, and we think Stefanski is a good coach, so could they make this work? But in the meantime, we probably should have had an idea that there were going to be challenges here. Because no, it's hard to turn the... Perloff, I think there was just like a fog over this signing, though.
Show me a clip of a football analyst saying this is a bad deal.
I think we didn't.
We honestly, I'll be honest, we were way too positive on it as a show.
Well, because we saw the defense for Cleveland, I think we thought Deshaun Watson was going to be that guy from Houston. Yes. I think what we underestimated was, it was one of those things that with all the allegations and the off-the-field stuff with Deshaun, which I think does play a role in this,
sure,
the fan base sort of had to hold their nose and be like, oh, great, the savior's here. We finally get a good quarterback. But you don't feel, it's not this like the king has arrived, because you're always feeling a certain type of way about all the details of those allegations. And then let's also call it what it is. He got hurt.
Yeah.
The shoulder has been an issue. And it's continued to be an issue.
I think we also underestimated another part of this, the Cleveland Browns. Like, we thought all of a sudden they were not going to be the same Cleveland Browns from, remember the Hard Knock season where they became an NFL joke? That wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't just the Hard Knock season that made
Well,
it a joke.
I mean, when Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson were getting into it, that was like 8 years ago. Like, this organization has always found the banana peel, and I think we underestimated their inability to build a consistent winning team. So I think it's all parties here. By the way, some details from Florio. In 2017, I believe, the Broncos traded Brock Osweiler and his $17 million guaranteed salary. Big deal back then.
Yeah, I remember that.
They had to attach a second-round pick. So Florio is wondering, can the Browns trade Deshaun Watson and a first-round pick to a team who would take that money off their hands, or maybe 2 seconds? Basically, the Browns would have to give up a lot of draft capital to get rid of Deshaun Watson. And I said, that's ridiculous. No one's going to do that. And then E.J. Stewart came up with an idea.
Well, first of all, the irony that they would have to start attaching draft picks when they already gave away all these draft picks to get Deshaun in the first place. So how many are you going to mess around with? EJ, you think you have a destination if Deshaun Watson wants a trade?
Yes. Go to a franchise where you have basically red carpet for all kinds of characters and cast-offs and maybe other people that you wouldn't want to have around your organization, but you'll take them in. A history of doing stuff like this. What about Las Vegas? You don't have a quarterback at all right now. Aiden O'Connell's not going to be the answer. We know Minshew isn't. You could use that first-round pick. Like, they clearly need a lot of talent. Maybe you take a flyer on Deshaun, let him be your quarterback for 2 years, take in that high draft pick, take whoever is a Travis Hunter or somebody like that. Or maybe it's a young quarterback. Maybe you're still drafting his replacement, but that might be your best option to build your team for the future by holding your nose and taking Deshaun Watson. If there's any fan base that could maybe stomach having Deshaun Watson around for a couple years, this might be the only one. Yeah,
Maggie, you said no team, no owner would make a deal like this. I present to you Mark Davis.
There's always one. Mark Davis, Jimmy Haslam. What's the difference?
I came in this morning. I'm like, there's no way this could ever happen. Then EJ brought up the Raiders. There are a few teams that just have no solution at quarterback. Now, the Raiders, what if the Raiders go 7-10 this year, or 6-11 and get the number 6 pick and all the quarterbacks are gone?
I don't know. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Points for creativity, EJ, because you're right. When you said Raiders, I was like, ooh, I got to pause for a second. The Raiders are, I'd believe anything almost about the Raiders. But it just makes no sense for them not to draft a quarterback. You're talking about a doomsday scenario where all the quarterbacks are gone. I don't even think it works out that way. I'd rather trade up to get a quarterback and draft them, because here's the thing. If I'm just thinking about it from a job preservation, let alone a football, we'll get to that in a minute. But you just watched how bad this was in Cleveland. And I don't know if Stefanski and that whole front office might be on the hot seat because of how bad this is, right? You got a wild card owner with Haslam. If I bring that guy in and he continues to suck and he's still hurt and we get another allegation and all this stuff just continues how it's gone in Cleveland, which why would you think it'd be anything different? Then I will get fired. As opposed to bringing in a rookie quarterback definitely buys me a couple of years.
But the coach is not going to last in Vegas anyway. You have a coach on the hot seat already.
Sure. I just would rather draft a guy. And I think that's what the Raiders are doing.
Yeah, but they didn't draft one this year.
It's a lot of money, too.
Everybody drafted a quarterback this year, and the Raiders were like, we're good with nobody.
Well,
I don't know.
They kind of got shut out,
well,
right?
Okay, here's another option. Deshaun Watson cuts his own salary, redoes a deal to help the team just to get out of Cleveland.
Does it look like he'd do something like that?
I think he would much rather be in Vegas than Cleveland, personally. Maybe 10%. Yeah, I don't think that's likely, but I mean, listen, how much money does this guy need? He's got $240 guaranteed $1 million.
I mean, I guess the only other place, and I don't even know how the money would work on this, and we can talk about it from the football side, but let's say something really bad happens with Tua, where he comes back, another concussion. We're wondering if we're ever going to see him again. We're already wondering if he should play again. But say Tua comes back, say we get another terrible hit, and he's off the field in an ambulance or something, and you're thinking next year, I wonder if Miami, another wild card owner, who I think they were definitely interested in Deshaun.
Yeah, but they would have to
I don't know how the
two
money
off
would
the cap
work
space.
there.
Yeah, the Raiders have $80 million of cap space next year, so they can fit Deshaun. There are a handful of teams that have enough space next year to fit Deshaun, and the Dolphins, unless they void Tua Tagovailoa's contract, that would never be an option. Also, that's another coach and GM who I think are embattled. You're right. I'm not sure what the easy solution here is, but
Coach and GM that could be embattled, so they can't push back. They kind of have to be like, all right, whatever you want, boss.
Cleveland could do this scenario where they start Jameis Winston for the rest of the year and make Deshaun so miserable that he takes less money to leave. And I'm sure he wants to leave.
Yeah.
First of all, this is going to sound like an excuse. It's not all Deshaun's fault. That offensive line is terrible.
Well, they're hurt.
Their receivers who are healthy are dropping everything, and they can't really get Njoku on, who's probably their best offensive player, on the field. Nick Chubb comes back in 2 weeks, I read recently, or he's in practice now. And their line gets healthier, maybe the team's better. I don't know. This is just like, it's one of those things where if it was a fantasy football trade, like, you would make it happen. Just find a way.
So we had a caller yesterday. We're talking about Deshaun Watson and whether there's some rumors floating around online and in football circles that he may be open to a trade from the Browns. And I bet I could, not to source guess, but I
don't know.
I wonder if the Browns are starting those rumors. Anyway, we did have a caller yesterday, Rich, who said, are they leaving him out to dry, making him look bad just so that he'll basically, like they're making Deshaun look bad on purpose to try to get him out of there? And I was like, that doesn't make any sense because they all invested all this money and time. But Perloff, it sounds like maybe you think there could be something to that. You start Jameis, you get him so mad that he wants to leave the organization willingly and becomes and helps you.
No,
with that.
I mean, I don't think the Browns could execute that plan. They'd probably accidentally start winning games if they're trying to lose. I don't know. Here's the thing about it's not just the Browns who are a mess. The Raiders are a mess too. There are other teams that are a mess. So I think we have to keep our mind open.
The Pittsburgh Steelers aren't bringing them in. Like a well-run team is not going to do that.
The Steelers have never been afraid of character, guys.
But they're like a good organization who has a good reputation that they can that they do handle things,
Really? Yeah, true. Yeah, right. They have Mike Tomlin and they have the Rooney family, but they will definitely take character guys high up in the draft. They've done it many, many times. I mean, Antonio Brown, the rest of the NFL knew what Antonio Brown was. The Steelers were like, yep, we'll take him.
Yeah.
Santonio Holmes came in with all sorts of problems, like, yep, we'll take him.
Yeah, but the guys generally perform there, though. I mean, Antonio Brown up until the end when he totally just melted down.
First of all, the Steelers don't even want that kind of quarterback. They feel like they want a quarterback who's going to throw for 145 yards a game. Regardless, I hear you, but there are other teams like the Browns who make mistakes. I don't know. I just think that they cannot continue this for next year. Like, there's too much negative energy. If it continues this way, the Browns are going to either cut him or trade him, or something's going to happen. This just cannot. He looks completely miserable. They look miserable. It doesn't look like he's part of the team necessarily. Like, if you watch the body language on the sideline afterwards, I don't think he really likes being there. I don't think they like him being there. It just feels like the NFL needs almost. I wish the NFL could step in and say, hey, you know what? This is terrible. Let's switch it up.
No, because you can't let the Browns off the hook like that. They made the bed. They've got to lie in it. I feel bad for the fans. It's not your fault. But for the organization, and obviously the Browns and the Steelers are not going to make a trade like that in the division. But you know what's the funniest thing about this, or saddest thing, I guess, is you watch this team make the playoffs last year. That's what's infuriating about it. And I know the defense isn't the same. I get it. It hasn't been. But that's where you're like, oh, what a missed opportunity. If you just had a competent quarterback, which is what I'd say Joe Flacco is at this point. He's not dynamic. He's not, this is not Mahomes. But if you just have a competent quarterback, you're a playoff team. And now you're 1-4. It's just a bummer.
Well, yeah, I don't know that this year you would, with a competent quarterback, you would be in the playoffs because, again, they can't run the ball at all without Chubb. Jerome Ford, that little phenom didn't last. So also the other thing too is Watson played really well 2 games ago. His stats were good. His PFF grade was off the charts. Like, he was hitting guys in the chest, and it didn't matter. The rest of the team imploded. I don't think. And it's not necessarily, I don't think they follow him right now. I don't think, how a quarterback has some team leader characteristics? It doesn't feel like that's going down right now in Cleveland. It feels like he's isolated from the rest of the team.
855-212-4227. All right, getting started with some Deshaun Watson rumors for you. We've got Davante Adams rumors for you. We've got Aaron Rodgers on the record for you. and plenty of college football to get to as we are just careening towards what is just the headliners, 4 heavyweight matchups this weekend in college football. So much to do. It's Maggie and Perloff on this Thursday.
Focus, the king of queens, shutting through the borough, living his dreams. But while he's ruling with that regal grin, Peter Belotti's nowhere to be fucking seen. Oh, Peter, where the hell'd you go this time? Miss another shift, it's a damn crime. Maggie and Perloff, they've had enough. You know, so bullshit's getting kinda tough. Bogus wears his crown with pride. He's got the hustle, can't be denied. But every time the team calls roll, Belotti's fucking off, leaving a hole. Oh, Peel, where the hell'd you go this time? Miss another shift, it's a damn crime. Maggie and Perloff, they
1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. All right, we got a lot going on today. Let's just all be honest here. Mets beat the Phillies. Well, how should I do this? Should I just rip the Band-Aid and let you guys gloat now? Should I try and delay it as long as I can? Do you guys want to dance or play one of those new Mets songs? I mean, how's this going to go? Just go ahead, torture me. Just do it. I don't even care anymore. I don't care about anything.
We've been meeting about this twice daily
Yes,
to talk about how we were going to handle it. I think, you're just going to have to bask in our excitement. You're a peninsula of a Philly fan just surrounded on all three sides by Mets fans. Me, EJ Bogish, Ryan Botcher, everyone in the newsroom, basically. If they're not Mets
Why
fans,
are
they're
there
Yankee
no
fans.
Yankee fans here? Well, yeah, it feels like this is Mets territory, which is odd. But, okay, so I should root for a new team, and it can't be the Mets, obviously. So can I pick up a new team now my Phillies are out? Maybe an
Absolutely
AL team?
not.
No, this is sports. When your team's out of it, you're just out of it.
No, but I can root for the Tigers. I mean, not like root. I'm not going to wear Tigers gear, but I can have a friendly interest. No?
I think
For
Maggie's
a Cinderella
right.
team?
I think once if your team is in the playoffs, that's your team. Like that's it.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a survival pool.
No, I think, okay, I'll be honest. Like, I think I can root for whoever's playing the Mets.
If you want to do that, that's fine.
Hate
you
root?
Can, you can root for the team that beat you.
Yes.
But see, I like to go the opposite way. I'm like, if you beat me, I hope you win the whole thing.
Right. It proves that you were actually a better team that year.
Yeah, like say the
I'm
Mets end up
down with
playing
that.
whoever it's going to be, the Padres or the Dodgers, and they get swept. You're going to be like, that should have been us.
Yeah, we were this close. I use that logic all the time.
So no, I don't think you can pick up for another team. Obviously, the Tigers are a great story. We'll see what happens.
I think we could all root for the Tigers a little bit. Here's the thing.
They have a payroll of like half of a season of Bryce Harper.
I know. I told you guys coming in that the Phillies did not look dangerous at all. And I wasn't just saying the hedge. Like, I knew they were going to score about 1 run a game. I don't know what it is. And, I don't follow day to day necessarily. But you just had a set. You guys knew the Mets were going to win the series. I mean, it was the confidence level coming in was 100. I never saw you guys nervous.
I do want to say Perloff was right about this. You kept saying, doesn't matter that the Phillies were the best team in baseball, best record I guess the Dodgers, I think, had the best record in the National League. But you're like, it doesn't matter they've been in first place. It's all about who gets hot in the playoffs. I was like, no, you're emotionally hedging. You were right about that.
Well,
the Mets are the hotter team.
Look at the second half of the season. What's the Mets record? I know these stats about, like, they're the best team in baseball since a certain date. The Phillies certainly are not.
Basically June 1st. But
yeah, right.
So the other part of this, can I just take you guys behind the scenes a little bit last night? So we were at this very fun gala, and Perloff was
honoring Maggie.
Well, and about 157 other women, but
all amazing women.
Top 200's an accomplishment, Maggie.
As much in the world.
Yeah.
As
They
much
get a college football playoff with those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You should see our rush defense. But as much, obviously you were a great friend last night. You didn't have to go to that. You showed up for me.
Awesome.
Foxhole guy, Perloff all over the red carpet, jazz hands, finger guns. I mean, just really awesome.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? You don't have to ask. If there's a red carpet and an event that we got to dress up for, that was awesome. You kept saying you didn't have to come. I was thrilled to come. It was this beautiful space. And you're, saying you're one of 100. It was like the top people in the industry. You were up there with a bunch of stars getting your award, short of getting your award.
Right. We'll tell that story in a second. But can I tell you that Perloff was live betting the Mets-Phillies game throughout most of the salad and the entree.
My DraftKings account is overflowing right now because I've honestly bet every time. Why would you bet? Why would the odds change on the Mets when it's 1-0 in the 6th inning? Is there any reason not to bet on the Mets? I'm going to do it next series too. This team doesn't like to score until the last 3 innings. Am I the only one who notices this? Is my unobjectivity about baseball and make me an actual baseball genius, Maggie?
It's the best thing you could do because if you're a Met fan and you're watching this and they don't score, they leave all these runners on base, which they did last night, you're thinking, oh, this is it. It's over.
Same old Mets.
Exactly. And now they've been this great comeback team. And so you took advantage of it betting-wise because you're like, of course, the Mets have got the Phillies right where they want them, which is down 0-1 going into the sixth inning. They've left 100 people on base.
I don't understand this last 3 innings Mets. They are like the 27 Yankees all of a sudden. I just don't get it. I don't know why they don't do that early. Why don't they make the whole plane out of the black box? Why aren't they doing that in the first, second, and third inning? I think it was a way to torture Phillies fans.
Yeah.
And Met fans. Do you think those
And Met
first
fans.
5 plus innings are
wondering,
fun?
As a fan, when you're down 1-0 in the sixth, like, do you feel confident, or are you guys always reverting to, oh, my team has let me down in the past, it's going to happen again?
I thought they were going to lose like 2-0 last night.
Well, especially when maybe even more than that because Mets sadness can come in a variety of flavors. So when Edwin Diaz, the closer, comes in and immediately walks two people, you're like, oh, this is how it's going down tonight. Like, how are they going to break my heart this time?
Yep.
And so you thought it was going to be Diaz,
right.
but he ends up striking out Schwarber to win the game, win the series.
Yeah, this was not the year for the Phillies. I knew it all along. They want to be the Mets. They want to be that plucky underdog who comes out of nowhere. Next year, though, Bryce Harper's going to be healthy, back on the MVP trail. I am confident for 2025 Phillies, calling it right now.
All right, well, hold you to that.
Also, though, I don't know. I'm not gonna let you on the hook, Pearl, because this is not a Phillies team that is a bunch of little sisters of the poor. We're talking about one of the highest payroll teams, one of the highest price lineups.
Yeah,
and they lose in 4 games to a team that was 10 games under in June, and you're like, oh, it's okay. We'll just get them next year. Where's the anger? Where's what the hell happened to us? Where's the passion? Your team just got smoked by your division rival. You guys sit here, listen to me and these other arrogant Mets fans laugh at you and talk all crap for the next week, and you can sit here and be like, oh, well, 2025, Bryce will get him. Come on, Pearl. Have I ever said a nice thing about Nick Castellanos or Trey Turner ever?
You hated the trade.
I love Schwarber and I love Harper. That's it. The rest of the team is hot garbage. And you had to bench your third best player because he couldn't even hit this series. Like, I knew they were dead. They can't be a front runner. They're not built for that. And by the way, baseball, it's the only sport where if you have a great record, you get penalized by having to sit there for 8 days.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. And you're not going to get the tears from Perloff. You're just not going to get him. He's not going to serve him up because he's been emotionally hedging against this team for months.
And honestly, I've followed even our former boss, Spike Eskin, is down at the Philadelphia radio station.
Yep.
Even the Phillies fans, they knew this was not looking good. There was not a high confidence level at all for this series.
That just makes me sick. I'm sorry.
But it's baseball.
I lived through 07, 08, okay? So I saw how Philly fans treated Mets fans as the collapses were happening. It was, you guys choked, ha, ha, ha. Look, you guys couldn't get it done. And, now
Accurate.
You guys have the choke. You guys didn't come through. You were the team that was favored. And now it's like, oh, well, we knew we weren't going to win.
Well, here's the thing, EJ. You gotta pick which Philadelphia choke you wanna prioritize here because we've got a lot of options on the table. I mean, you want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, choked
only
in the
one.
Super Bowl, then got off to a 10-1 start and choked away the rest of the season. You want to talk about perennial chokers, 76ers.
Well, the thing about
the
there's
Phillies.
only one choke that matters, and that's the second half against the Chiefs. But Philly fans don't know how to handle that. That was a bad PI call. If he just had a little bit of
Bad
jersey,
turf, bad turf.
Dry
that
heat.
was a bad turf.
Right, but the Chiefs didn't have to play on it either.
Yeah, but the Chiefs didn't rely on their pass rush like the Eagles did. Like, you needed Hassan Reddick to get to Mahomes, and they couldn't even stand up in the second half. That thing was like an ice rink, Maggie.
So basically, you got to choose your Phillies chokes.
But
And
if you're,
it's like Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors.
wait, do you realize the Liberty are going to become the first champion in 100 seasons in your beloved New York City? 100 professional seasons. Like, there's not even, you can't choke when your entire all 4 of your teams or all 8 of your teams stink. There's no choking. At least we're in the playoffs.
Well, 2 teams are still playing. 2 teams. Pete Pilotti's still
3 teams.
hanging around just to see Perloff suffer. That's a pal. Pete, we haven't heard from in weeks, but hanging around today of all days. And a big thumbs up. Bogish does have headlines.
By the way,
Yes.
Can you put Pete on? Can you bring Pete in?
Pete.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see if I can get him in.
He's walking
Pete,
away now.
there was a
Stomping
conversation
away.
in May where I said the Mets were terrible. I don't know if you guys remember this. The Mets were awful, and I'm like, it's baseball. You have no idea. They have like a gigantic payroll. I guarantee the Mets could turn around. And Pete Bellotti sat right over there on the other side of the glass and guaranteed me that there was no way the Mets would turn around. He said there's 0% chance. I'm like, it's baseball. Of course there's a chance. And he said, no, Perloff, you don't follow the team. There is 0% chance.
Yeah.
I'm a great time.
Pete Bellotti.
Do you remember this day?
Pete, do you remember when I
Hi,
told
Pete,
you the
by the
Mets
way.
had a chance, and you said you don't watch the team. They have no chance. They're the worst team ever. This was late May, and I'm like, it's baseball. They have this gigantic payroll. They have all this talent. Of course they could turn around. You're like, nope. Do you remember this?
I do remember this, and I was wrong. And I'm glad I was wrong. Because this whole season is house money. This team had no expectations whatsoever. And they went in there and they beat the NL Central champions, and they beat the NL East champions. And they could possibly beat the NL West champions in the NLCS if they get, we'll see what happens with the Dodgers and Padres. But house money, these are the best years.
I don't even think you should be able to root for them anymore. I think you should take down all those Go Mets tweets and just like, no, you gave up on your team. You guys are saying that I'm a weak fan. What about that? You guys, in fact, you all gave up on your team, and now you're all wearing Mets gear. It's ridiculous.
Can I go pick another team like some other people around here?
And then pick another one tomorrow, and then go back to somebody else on Monday.
Well,
here's
pick
the
the Rockies.
Picking trying to maybe get off your team in May is different than trying to do that in October.
Yeah,
you
but
made it
you
all the way
guys
to
were 11
October and
games-
you jumped off.
I've seen a
11
lot
games
of
under.
orange and blue here, and I did not see a lot of orange and blue in June. I feel like you guys are the real bandwagon
They were
fans.
11 games under 500. Everyone was trying to figure out what they were trying to do.
Well, if you guys were really these great fans that you claim to be, wouldn't you have had faith back then when
Oh,
they were 11
stop.
games under?
Well, technically, I think we were all secretly wearing purple because that's when Grimace took over, and that was just one of the many totems that the Mets have relied on now.
This is why this is happening, because of the big man Grimace.
I thought it was, wasn't it the Haktua girl?
So
as
it's a
well?
couple things.
No.
So a couple things. You had Grimace, and then you also had just this amazing June, of which it is like Gay Pride Month. And so there was a lot of stuff about, hey, there's like this great happy atmosphere. Then it was Haktua Girl. Then it was Jose Iglesias, OMG. Actually, Iglesias was first.
Yeah.
Then Haktua.
I wouldn't put Haktua in this. That was a day where they were embarrassed as a franchise. Like that's not the same thing as the rallying around Grimace and pimps and songs. I wouldn't include her. Like she's part of the story of the season, but
Oh,
she
they
was
didn't
not
they didn't go on a win streak after she threw out the first pitch?
I don't.
lost that game.
Yeah, that she doesn't matter in the list of mascots for this year.
No.
It all matters, guys. And by the way, it's the Mets. They're not above Haktua,
Yeah.
It all's in the stew. It creates the lore.
Meanwhile, Rob Manfred is praying that the Dodgers win this series and
So am I.
advance to play the Mets. That would be
Padres
very
are
good.
scary.
Yeah.
Me too. The
Yeah,
Dodgers
no,
have
I know,
starters.
Yeah, I think the Shohei effect is real, though. Like I think baseball. If you had the Padres, imagine. If it's the Padres and Tigers, like baseball is gonna be like, oh man, we almost got Shohei through.
Padres on the loose. Let's go, Goose.
I mean, by the way, baseball experts around me, what happened to that Dodgers pitching staff? They can't pitch.
They literally used 8
bullpen
relievers
game.
yesterday. Point remains.
It never works. And just the fact is that the Padres went to Dylan Cease on short rest, and apparently he can't do that. And it was the first time they ever tried it.
Yeah, I know. This
Great
is
time to try it.
I was going to say, it is now the time to experiment.
Is this the greatest bull? It's a historic bullpen shutout. Is that crazy? Like this, what they did last night has never been done.
Thank you, Pete. Get
It's-
home safely.
It's the second time that a team has used 8 pitchers in a shutout in the postseason.
Oh, second time. Okay.
Yeah, the first was, and the Tigers did it in the afternoon first, and the Dodgers did it last night. They are the only 2 teams ever to win a playoff game by getting less than 4 outs from their starter.
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
I thought the Rays did this in like the 2020 season.
Well, the Rays oftentimes didn't take that starter, the opener guy out after the first inning, which the Tigers did yesterday, and so did the Dodgers last night.
Crazy.
Is there any chance for they take a similar approach for Game 5?
No, I think they did that yesterday because by tomorrow night, someone will be on regular rest again for them.
I love game 5s and game 7s in baseball when the ace is warming up in the 8th inning, when they have to empty everybody. That's one of the most fun things in baseball.
Well, you saw your closer have to come in the 6th inning last night.
Yeah,
I mean, David Peterson's got number 3 starter, and I still got chills being like, yeah, here we go. Starting pitcher. Going to close it down. Even though they went to Diaz in the 9th, which was questionable.
Nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
One story that we didn't talk about, we don't have to do it now because I know, Bogus, you got your headlines. The story about Jack Flaherty getting robbed.
No, Walker Buehler.
I thought it was Flaherty who got
Buehler.
robbed.
It's
I'm
Buehler.
sorry, Buehler.
Yeah.
Buehler got robbed. This is crazy. We never heard this story, but he was at Santa Anita racetrack, and he and his wife were there, and they got robbed, and someone took his watch.
But I think took it off his wrist in a weird.
They slipped it off like a cat burglar style.
Yeah, he didn't know it was missing at first. It wasn't I don't think there was a stick up.
No, he wasn't threatened at all, but someone mugged him without him knowing.
Yep.
Is that a
That's
mugging?
scary.
That's a pickpocket situation.
I guess, but I don't know if they took his wallet too. But how do you slip someone's watch? Do you almost? Listen. It's bad. I'm not advocating for crime, but are you a little impressed?
Yeah. But by the way, you're like, this is scary. You get pickpocketed at the Santa Ana racetrack. That's where you get pickpocketed.
You're saying you should have been watching.
I mean,
your
if you're
wallet
hanging
a
out on
little
the rail, anything can happen. What are you talking
Might as well
about?
be in Times Square.
It's not like he was at the
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 opera?
Versace store and What's it? And when was he there? Isn't he getting ready for a baseball series?
Well, of course, but it was an off day, and he's from Lexington, so he's just a big horse guy.
I just feel like the dream team of scammers and pickpockets are probably at the Arcadia. Just saying, or whatever this racetrack was.
The Jordan Barkley and
Right. The Santa
Magic.
Anita.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, no, I did not know that.
He was
story.
unknowingly the victim of a snatch and grab.
Yeah,
I
that
just
happens
don't-
all the time.
Really? I feel like we
It's
don't
your
hear
hand.
about these.
I don't understand how you
Yes.
get pickpocketed when it's on your hands.
Your own hands.
Well, isn't it like you sort of bump them on the left so they're distracted and somebody isn't that how it works? I've seen a lot of in the movies.
do you not feel it?
I don't know. In the
No?
movies, it happens all the time.
That's a movie.
Well, it's also got to be one of those watches that has the quick clasp. It can't be one with a leather where you have to put the little,
Well, this is not. It's a $100,000 watch. It's
Oh, okay.
so
yeah.
it has to be
A
wrist
good clasp.
band or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you should be able to feel that part too. My one nice watch, when you take that clasp off, you can feel the weight change
Of your hand.
significantly. Yeah.
Right. You look down an hour later, you're like,
What time is it?
Oh,
Crap.
no.
Do you know,
Shots.
in the Ocean's 11 movies, they're always pickpocketing guys expertly.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the real world. I think it does. If
Yeah,
you
Matt
go around
Damon shows up.
Go around the New York subway and hold your iPhone loosely. We'll see, Ryan, how safe that is. You can get pickpocketed in this world.
I think they just grab it, though. I don't. This.
No, you. Oh,
There's
no,
a
no.
look over
skill
there.
in
It's
death.
Grimace. And
Yeah.
No, I think there are stealthy pickpockets. That happens. That's not a made up thing here.
No.
It's not
guys.
a pocket though. It's a wrist.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I bet you someone bumped him on the left and they stole it. Well, which hand? It's on his left hand. So they bumped him on the right. And once you're bumped around, you get all discombobulated. And that's when they took the watch. We'll see.
Have you guys ever seen? This is more a thing that happens sometimes in foreign countries around tourist destinations.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's a woman who looks like she's holding a baby.
Oh, yeah,
But they're
yeah.
not actually holding a baby, and they're really just pickpockets. It's crazy. This happens sometimes. I know around St. Mark's Square in Italy and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I have a little experience in this field.
You got a story?
We
As
always
the victim or the
the victim.
Yes. Perloff had
I
a
think
whole
Charles
other
Barkley
life
again.
where he was a cat burglar.
I'll just say real quick, we used to go to a very questionable Stop and Shop to buy liquor when we were teenagers. And
Is there any other kind?
Everybody, multiple times we got either pickpocketed, they ripped off my friend's pocket because they're like, you're not calling the cops because you are underage drinking.
Right.
So we used to get robbed at I can't remember, we had this one place where they would serve you if you were 11 years old.
Oh, jeez.
But then
Is it a baby bottle?
But, they're like, well, you might get robbed outside because they know who they
Yeah.
know that you're not going to call the cops. So that happened a lot, but it was still worth it just to get those wine coolers back in the day.
Boone's Farm.
Yeah, did you guys do that when you were teenagers?
Bartles and James.
Oh yeah, that was great stuff.
We used to take the box of wine, just take it out of the box and just pass the pouch.
Again with the pouches,
It must
Maggie.
be an upstate New York thing, guys.
My friend
It's
called me.
environmentally sound.
I'm sorry, we keep pushing off updates, but my friend called me the other day. He goes, "What's the deal with the pouches of milk that Maggie was talking about?" Honestly, he's like, "I've never heard of that." He was perplexed that you grew up drinking milk out of pouches.
Yeah, we did. What's up with the pouches? Pouches of milk. And it's
you
not
said
a
it-
euphemism.
The way you said it, you're like, "Do you guys remember when we had pouches of milk at lunch in middle school?" I'm like, "No."
No, everyone's like spitballing about like Sunny D and
Yeah,
the purple
yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, milk pouches. And just the room got silent.
And you had the perfect response, Perloff. Like, were you under FEMA help?
Yeah.
Because it
I wonder what,
sounded
like, were those government provided milk pouches? What? And you're like, they're clear?
Yeah, they
Sounds
were.
like what they gave out at Firefest.
Who do you think was the inspiration for that? Yeah, no, they were clear. You had to see the difference between regular and chocolate milk. How else would you be able to tell? A
Yeah, you're
label?
right. We're like, yeah. Do you remember, like, you put the straw in the Sunny D, and you're like, yeah, like the milk pouches. What?
This is a record scratch. All right, let's pause on that for a second. We'll get to some headlines because I need to know what's going on in the world. Bogus.
all the headlines are
Wait,
sponsored.
can we pause? We have 2 seconds. Will you pause? Can we hold it off or no?
You can make fun of me some more for being a Phillies fan if you come back. If you hang around.
What's the question?
Can we hold off? Just do quick commercial and then we'll come back?
Whatever you want.
Yes. Quick commercial. We're back with headlines in a minute.
Mets fans woke up to a miracle sight. We beat Perloff's Phillies for the first damn night. Said it couldn't happen, no way, no how. But we proved them wrong, look at us now. Hey Perloff, how do you feel? The Mets just made this win so fucking real. First time ever we got it done. And Peter Bellotti showed up for the damn fun. Peter Bellotti's here, believe this shit. He finally punched in and didn't quit. Wearing Mets colors, loud and proud. For once he's here, damn near the crowd. Hey Perloff, where's your grin? Your Phillies lost, let the Mets begin. Peter Bellotti's back, ain't that grand? Celebrating history in Mets land. This first win feels like sweet delight. Philly fans are fucked up tonight. And Peter Bellotti, for once he's on the scene. Mets fans cheering, living the dream. Hey Perloff, what's the score? Mets fans singing forevermore. Peter Bellotti's back to join the cheer. Mets beat the Phillies, first time this year. So here's to the Mets, a toast so sweet. We conquered Philly, ain't that shit neat? And Peter Bellotti's here.
2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Mets fans woke up to a miracle sight. We beat Perloff Phillies for the first damn night. Said it couldn't happen, no way, no how. But we proved them wrong, look at us now.
One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Andrew Bogish has headlines for us. We got stuck chit-chatting about Walker Buehler got pickpocketed. Someone lifted a $100,000 watch right off of his wrist at a racetrack. He didn't even know. So we got a little sidetracked on that story. Bugs, what's up?
Headlines are all sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at progressive.com. We are waiting on confirmation from Philadelphia. Not sure if it's football or basketball or hockey season now, but it sure ain't baseball season anymore.
Now the pitch. Swinging a drive towards the gap in right center. It's pretty deep. It's back near the wall. It's gone. It's gone. Francisco Lindor. He may have just outdone himself. He has hit a grand slam into the Phillies bullpen in right center field. The Mets are leading by a score of 4-1.
Howie Rose on Mets radio. The Mets squandering scoring chances like it was going out of style before Lindor's historical swing in the sixth last night. They won the game 4-1 when Edwin Diaz K'd Kyle Schwarber as the tying run. They take the series 3-1. But at least people are handling things well in Philadelphia with their season over. Courtney O'Neill spoke to WFMZ TV last night.
So there's a couple low points in my life. My dog passing away and them getting a grand slam. The grand slam took the cake.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Best of luck, Fido. So what happens?
Oh my goodness. That's kind of disrespectful to your dog.
Kinda.
Yeah, dog's part of the family. I mean, the Phillies were definitely losing the series. You knew that.
You guys ever seen the video of the Phillies fans coming after they lost last year in the LCS, talking about Rob Thompson?
Yes.
They are the most Philly fans. You can say what you want. They are creatively negative.
Yeah.
They are all time like that. Felt like at least Aguilar didn't drop it. Like Philly fans are they're good for. They're much more fun after they lose. Well, I like her attitude.
Yeah, no, I've got more from Courtney because she's got a lot of work to do to bounce back from this heartbreak.
I feel like I might either check into AA, therapy, or an institute of some sort because this is crap. It's full of crap.
Yeah, I like her attitude.
Professional help.
She might be met by a lot of other Philly fans there. They're going to be overrun the facility.
I'll just say this, whether the Phillies won or lost, if you need AA, please go to AA. Like, don't do this because the Phillies lost.
Wow.
Okay?
I mean, listen. If the Eagles, they're huge favorites this weekend against Cleveland. If the Eagles win, she's not going to AA. All is good in her world.
I know, right? We're back, baby.
We're back. Yeah, all you need is. But if the Eagles lose to the Browns, like she's going to do a 28-day rehab. Like that is
It's going to be like Kendall Roy, just like a 1 day in and then flying back out.
Yeah. No, she's going to go to a halfway house if the Eagles lose. That would be devastating.
You are a 9-point favorite.
But it's FYI, it's never baseball season in Philadelphia. It's always football season.
The Eagles are good.
Yeah.
We always hear that conveniently after one of the other sports seasons ends.
I know.
Yeah.
That's the worst part about it because you guys were it's us front runners with the Phillies and Sixers.
You look at the 4 teams there. How would you approach it? Would you be a Sixers? Like I'm going to put all my eggs into that basket? No way. It's all about the birds.
Good point. She
Go
should
Birds.
Prematurely check herself in. Just hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, by the way, I mean, she clearly has some issues.
It's all about the birds. It's all about the birds unless there's humidity involved or a bad field. Then it's someone else's.
Honestly,
someone else's fault.
This is a good job by that TV producer. They could have interviewed anybody leaving the game, and they were like, "We need Courtney."
Well, let me ask: is Courtney O'Neill famous or something, or do you just keep like? Is she just a random fan?
Yeah, they were at some. It wasn't even at the game. They were at something. I don't know if it was like a mall or like it was a weird collection of places to hang out and watch the game. There was a bar. There was a Chicky and Pete. Like it was weird. Like
the Xfinity Center, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you said it like that was somebody noteworthy. You're like, just ask Courtney O'Neill.
Well,
Courtney
just
Cox.
some random person.
They put her name on the TV on the video that I was watching, so I wrote her name down.
Okay,
gave her full credit.
No, I like it.
As for the Mets,
they asked Meryl Streep. What do you think?
You think it was tough on you? Let's talk to Courtney O'Neill.
Game 1 of the NLCS for the Mets is Sunday night, but they don't know who their opponent is just yet. The Dodgers staying alive with an 8-0 thrashing of the Padres in San Diego. Game 5 in L.A. tomorrow night. The Yankees took a 2-1 lead on the Royals with a 3-2 win in KC. The difference there, Giancarlo Stanton's solo homer tiebreaker in the top of the 8th. And the Tigers blanked the Guardians 3-0 for their own 2-1 lead. All 3 games of that series have been shutouts. The NFL is reportedly investigating the curse on George Pickens' eye black on Sunday Night Football. It read, "Milk shouldn't be in bleeping pouches." It actually said, "Open bleeping always." And you're shocked to know that you can't write curse words on any part of your uniform.
And it results in 3 targets per game for George Pickens, too. That's the irony of it.
I think it'd be funny if they're like, well, we were going to fine you, but it was true.
Well,
we're not going to fine you.
I also have a syntax question there. That's not the way you would even write that complaint out.
And even if you're doing it on 2 different eye blacks, it doesn't make any sense.
No, not even a little bit. Always bleep and open is the way to do that.
Yeah. Was he writing it in a mirror?
That's supposed to be a message to the quarterback or the DB. If I'm guarding you, like
it's got to be to the quarterback.
Yeah, right.
The quarterback doesn't seem to know he's on the team.
Right.
It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
He can also just tap Justin Fields on the shoulder. He doesn't have to write it on it.
He got 7 targets. Maggie thought that was a decent number. 7 targets for you're the only receiver on the team. I don't even know who the number 2 receiver is. They never throw him the ball. So that's why you're right. He's sending a message to the coaching staff. I'm open, dude. It's on my
but they
eye
have
black.
meetings and huddles where he could just verbalize his
I'm
request.
sure he does all the time.
I agree with.
You gotta send the message home with eye black.
I love
He
it.
burned $15,000.
He just exhausted all other options. He's like, I've been in the meeting.
Yeah.
I sent a memo, Slack. I've called the players only meeting. Nothing.
He's gotten 36 targets in 5 games. He is their number 1 receiver by a mile. There is something bizarre going on there. What's the best
And
eye
the
black?
offense sucks.
Yeah, I mean, but they need to throw it to George Pickens. I like his eye black here.
But maybe he's not open bleeping always.
That could be another factor.
Well, you don't know because they're always throwing it to him when he's basically out of bounds. It's weird.
Well, unless he's right below Justin Fields' feet, where Justin Fields is looking for 70% of his drops, then George Pickens is not going to get open. He's basically looking down like, all right, how am I going to escape and make a play here? Sorry, I mean, Justin Fields is a great runner, but he is not exactly seeing the wide receivers down the field.
Night 2 of the NHL season, Vegas outscored Colorado 8-4, 4 assists for Jack Eichel. The Jets blanked the Oilers 6-0, 30 saves for Connor Hellebuck. And Rafael Nadal just announced he is retiring from tennis after playing for Spain in the Davis Cup next month. The 22-time major winner has been ravaged by injuries over the last few years. Guys, back to you.
Nadal deserves all, the praise and everything, but doesn't the first instinct go to, how is Djokovic still doing this?
He's 2 years younger, right? Isn't he a little younger?
I guess so.
He's a little younger.
Or maybe not even. I don't know.
No, he's probably a year or 2 younger. But he's also a different type of player.
But he's definitely
1 year younger.
He's definitely losing it though. You could see Djokovic he's all of a sudden not winning is like he did.
Yeah, I mean, he can't play the same schedule. None of them can at that age, but he's still a factor. Nadal hasn't really been a factor in a while.
Yeah. I have a hot take on Nadal. If Nadal wasn't a lefty, Federer would have beaten him a lot more times. That's one of my great sports excuses. I think it's hard.
You're good at those.
Great sports excuse, you want to call that?
That's a great sports excuse. I think the spin coming off, you play tennis, Maggie. The spin coming off a lefty racket is it's hard to get used to.
100% agree with Perloff on this one.
I mean, a lot of people, I'm not coming up with that take. Like Federer was amazing. He was top of his game, but that on clay, Nadal
It was
gave a lot of
always
problems.
just high to Federer's backhand, and that's just not, that's not a winning shot. You're always playing defense when it's high to your backhand. Guys, come on, this is tennis 101.
I'm dumbfounded right now.
I'm surprised by y'all, actually.
He's lefty. What are we talking about?
I know.
It's like saying, if Babe Ruth was right-handed, maybe he wouldn't have hit 60 home runs. What are you doing? That's the player he's playing
EJ.
against. It's not his fault.
What do they say? All southpaws should be drowned at birth. That's what they say.
It's tough.
Not me.
It's tough when you got to guard a left-handed player. That is hard.
I'm in agreement with Perloff on this one.
This is insane to
Somewhere Federer nods his head slowly and a single tear rolls down his face. Okay, Bogus, thank you so much. Lots to do, including a shakeup at quarterback. We'll get to it next.
Woke up to a miracle sight. We beat Perloff Phillies for the first damn night. Said it couldn't happen, no way, no how. But we proved them wrong, look at us now. Hey Perloff, how do you feel? The Mets just made this win so fucking real. First time ever, we got it done. And Peter Bellotti showed up for the damn fun. Peter Bellotti's here, believe this shit. He finally punched in and didn't quit. Wearing Mets colors, loud and proud. For once he's here, damn near the crowd. Peter Bellotti's here, believe this shit. He finally punched in and didn't quit. Wearing Mets colors, loud and proud. For once he's here, damn near the crowd. Remember Perloff with the fake baby prop. Pickpocket folks at the local Stop and Shop. Sneak up close with that plastic grin. Swipe in wallets while the check mess finish in. Hey Perloff, where's your grin? Your Phillies lost, let the Mets begin. Peter Bellotti's back, ain't that grand? Celebrating history in Mets land. Mets fans laughing cause we all know Perloff's baby scheme was a dirty show. Now he's watching his Phillies fall apart while Bellotti's here. Bless his Mets, loving heart. What's the score? Mets fans singing forevermore. Peter Bellotti's back and join the cheer. Mets beat the Phillies, first time this year.
Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Got football tonight. And this is a big one. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. I know it's only week 6, Pearl, and we don't like to use the term, must-win game. But if you're the San Francisco 49ers, there is no way you're feeling comfortable. I mean, this is a team that's already down 2 games in the division. Now, who knows how this division is going to work out? But you blow leads against the Rams and then against the Cardinals last week. So you have back-to-back division games where you blew leads. You cannot be feeling comfortable heading into this game.
Yes, except that you are waiting for the cavalry. You think, well, maybe once Christian McCaffrey gets back, we will start winning these close games because their main problem is they can't score in the red zone.
Right.
And who's the best red zone running back in the NFL?
Yeah, but you know what? I'm kind of sick of that excuse because last week you have Debo back, you've got Kittle back. I know you didn't have your kicker, Jake Moody, who got hurt. Who did they sign, by the way? I didn't even see who. If you guys can take a look at that because I didn't see.
I think
who
it's Matthew Wright.
I don't know who that is.
He wasn't the Lions kicker.
Okay. Sure. But, you obviously need someone. Moody was a draft pick of theirs, and he has to leave the game last week. But you have red zone targets. It's not just the Christian McCaffrey show. I get the ripple effect of what he does and how much attention he needs in the red zone, Perloff, but this is the whole thing about the 49ers. Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, you've got red zone options.
Listen, the numbers show that they missed McCaffrey. They were number 1 in red zone last year. They're 29th right now. And they're moving the ball like crazy between the 20s. They just get stymied. Listen, everyone knows what happened. Last week was 100% about the kicker. I'm sorry. You can talk about any aspect of the game you want. The fact that they didn't have the kicker cost them that game.
Yeah, but you also have to adjust, Pearl. They lost the kicker in the first half, and you had a 13-point lead.
I know they would have. If there was a kicker on that game, they would have salted it away. They would have been up 9, and the Cardinals would not have won. That's why they lost that game.
Okay, well.
There's no other. Anyway, you talk about any factors you want. If they have a kicker, then that's a W in the column for them.
Well,
it's on the left side.
Here's the thing. It doesn't change the fact that you're 0-2 in the NFC West.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact, but
now you're
you really
have.
But as you're evaluating them, I think even if they lose this game, they could say to themselves, okay, once we get McCaffrey back, which I would imagine will be next game, then we can evaluate the team.
Are you sure he's coming back next game?
Yeah, it seems to be getting close to me. And also, too, as they get more, if they lose tonight, I would expect like even a half a Christian McCaffrey they would take.
But they can't afford to do that, right? I mean, this is the one person that you really don't want to, be rushing back.
Yeah, you're right, but he's kind of old now. Like when, if not now, what are you waiting for?
I think was there an update about Christian McCaffrey? Maybe we can take a look at that because
I think it's been trending in the right way. I think they're going to be so desperate. Let me share my Niners theory on what's happening.
Oh, okay. You got a theory?
It's a narrative that I think you would appreciate. In fact, it's maybe you're influencing me. This has nothing to do with really why they're struggling necessarily. But if you watch the Niners game, the thing that stands out most by far is that Brock Purdy is running around like a madman. He is scrambling like he is Fran Tarkenton in prime Vikings 1975.
Okay.
He will not stop running. They were showing some graphics. He went 75 yards behind the line of scrimmage total the other day. And he's throwing longer like never before. And he's doing all sorts of things as a quarterback that he did not do last year. Is Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy trying to prove he's not a system quarterback this year?
Oh, man. You don't think he's doing this out of necessity? You think this is by design?
I think that he's trying to show something because he is scrambling in an unprecedented way, and it's not really helping the offense. Last week, yeah, he was a little pushed because they didn't have a kicker, so he had to try to make plays.
Sure.
But I think his scrambling has been the story of the year, and it definitely hurt them against the Cardinals. And I wonder, why is Shanahan letting him do this? Shanahan doesn't let anybody do anything. I just thought that maybe they're trying to prove he's not a system quarterback, that he's really an MVP type guy.
Wow. First of all, I would be surprised that they would make that kind of concerted effort.
I'm not saying it's necessarily a concerted effort, but I'm saying I think Purdy is just has a different mentality this year. He's like, I'm going to make the plays.
I thought it was more that the offensive line maybe was getting pushed around a little bit, and that's why he was taken off.
I don't know. He's definitely not throwing to his first read, though. Again and again. And also, too, he's not throwing the ball away at all. He runs around. There were about 6 plays last week where he just ran around for a good 8 seconds. It worked really well early in the season. He was getting these huge highlight plays. They were amazing. And now it's not. I think you can't do that. I think it's one of the big problems. Just throw the ball away, dude. What are you doing?
Interesting. I wonder, do you think it's actually Shanahan, or is this Purdy trying to be a little bit of the hero because so many of his weapons have been out and in and out of the lineup? Plus, Brandon Ayuk, even when he's been there, finally had a breakout game with a lot of yardage, but had not really been the Ayuk we remember.
I don't know. I've seen Shanahan with injuries before. Like, I'm not saying like it's a, hey, let's sit here and game plan a way we can make Brock Purdy look like a star. I just think that I don't think it's out of necessity 100%. Like, even with these injuries, like, you can throw the ball away, and he will not throw it away. He just won't do it.
Interesting, because I would think that Shanahan would want him to look like the system quarterback because, first of all, the system works, and secondly, then Shanahan gets more of the credit.
He just won't. Yeah, I definitely. That's the way it's always been.
Right.
I do not understand what's happening with the scrambling. He's a totally different player this year. I don't have the yards of how much he's run. I know he's actually running forward once in a while, but he is holding the ball. I got to get this metric from maybe PFF or Football Outsiders. He's holding the ball 3 times longer than he did last year.
Interesting. Pine Needle in the chat, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet says he's always scrambled. You're just noticing it more.
No. He is scrambling. First of all, they talked about it a lot this week. Both him and Shanahan got asked multiple questions about why he's scrambling so much. It's definitely way, way up this year.
I feel like in the playoffs, we saw him do this a lot. I feel like during the regular season, we've seen him kind of run the offense. And in the playoffs against Green Bay and definitely against Detroit in that comeback, he was running a lot. And I don't know if maybe he took those games that he won in the playoffs and said, well, it worked for me in the playoffs. Right. Maybe I'm going to bring that as part of my regular season game now. But I feel like, I think there has been a change, but I think it started in the postseason last year.
He's always moved his that point where he throws. I mean, he's always moved around in the pocket, but now it's gotten out of control. Shanahan ripped him. There was one play where it was, it basically took like a 20-yard sack that destroyed them, especially because they didn't have a field goal kicker, and Shanahan was upset about that one. Watch tonight. I'm very curious if he scrambles as much.
So here's the thing. Also, Seattle has a couple defensive players out and banged up. I don't know if that's going to play into it at all. You got 49ers in Seattle tonight, Thursday Night Football. Is there any part of this that's a little bit more just simple, which is this is a team that has been dominant, no doubt, but they don't look like that dominant team right now for a variety of reasons. And the idea that you're the quarterback, you're in line for the big money, that you just feel like you have to do more. You have to do above and beyond. You've got guys injured in and out of the lineup. And they have this penchant for blowing leads. So the idea, we got to stay aggressive. And maybe in Purdy's mind, that means not throwing the ball away. It means trying to, find somebody until the last second and trying to keep plays alive. Maybe it's just that.
Hero ball.
Yeah, right.
But I definitely like it. It's not working. It really hurt them against Arizona. We'll see. Tonight, like you mentioned, there's more than a couple injuries. Like, there are real problems on Seattle's defense. I think they should. I don't know if they win this game, but I cannot see them not having a big offensive night. I know the total's 49 on this game. Feels like San Francisco is going to have a lot of yards. I think that I don't think their defense is great either. I bet you Geno Smith has a lot of yards. I think we could have a really fun, high-scoring game tonight.
So let's see. I have the injury report in front of me. So Nwosa, the linebacker, is out. Byron Murphy is out. And Reek Woolen all out. So you're missing a linebacker, a defensive tackle, and a corner. You've got some more guys who are questionable. As far as San Francisco is concerned, Hufanga is out because of the wrist. Obviously, Jake Moody, their kicker, is out. And another linebacker and D tackle. So but those are like the headliners.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions-Seahawks game was awesome in prime time. I hope we get another one of those where I would love a 38-31 game. That would be so much fun.
855-212-4227. I'm curious with the 49er fans how nervous they're feeling for tonight. Listen, it's early. I get that. But you dropped the game against the Rams inexplicably. And even if you want to say, if they had Jake Moody, they would have won the game against the Cardinals, the bottom line is you lost. And we had Larry Fitzgerald on with us earlier this week, Pro. Remember what he said, why he thought they lost? It was not because of Jake Moody. He said it was 100 degrees.
Yeah, you could see that.
He thought they wore down.
Definitely.
And, obviously that's not going to be a factor tonight in Seattle. But still, like the idea that the team is just beat up.
Seattle, by the way, has their own issues. They've been flying back and forth across this great nation of ours. They've had this crazy travel schedule too, and
Well, they were home last week, but they lost to the Giants.
But they've looked. I think they went east twice early on. Basically, they've looked kind of run down as well. I don't think. Let's not forget about Seattle. We're talking about San Francisco because they made the Super Bowl last year. Like Seattle's in a good position to be a real contender this year too, and they have similar problems as San Francisco. I mean, the health. I love their coach, Mike McDonald. I'm into him. He seems like he'd be really good, but that defense looks terrible right now.
Isn't that why he was basically brought in? I know to be the head coach, but he was supposed to fix that side of the ball. And then you have injuries. And meanwhile, the San Francisco defense hasn't looked good.
It's like the average, right?
I mean, not really. You can still run the ball on them. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, it has to look good for a Niners defense, but I don't think like it's a sieve necessarily.
Well, so that's the bar. This is a team that was an eyelash away from the Super Bowl.
No, they're not. That defense is long gone.
And the other part of this too, Robert Saleh actually getting fired from the Jets is probably the best thing that ever happened to the 49ers. Just bring him back.
I know.
D'Amico Ryans isn't getting fired.
Michael Silver, who covers the Niners, said that Saleh won't do that as of now. I was actually thinking the same thing. If I'm San Francisco, oh my God, I am not putting the phone down until he comes. I would pester him, be like, come back, dude, come back. That would be amazing for the Niners.
I know. He probably just doesn't want to take a job from someone else, which, in the season, but next year,
that's a good point.
I mean, the other part, too, I think if you're the 49ers, which has to be a little bit annoying, and I don't know if they're looking at this or if they care, but so you're getting off to this start where you're 2-3. You're facing like as close as you can kind of get to a must win in week 6 because you got a division game on the road and you just dropped 2 division games. So you want to get back on track. And then you want to make all the excuses, right? Which is, and not that they're not fair. You played a lot of games, 4 straight NFC championship games. It's just a lot of wear and tear. The grind of the season, trying to get back after losing in a heartbreaking way, all the things we talk about with the Super Bowl hangover. But the Chiefs have also played lots of games. And I know they end up winning these Super Bowls, but they're 5-0 right now. And it's not like they've got this amazing roster. If you put it on paper, roster for roster spot, don't you think San Francisco, outside of quarterback, and I guess tight end, even Kelsey's not even playing that great, wouldn't you say that San Francisco, top to bottom, has the better roster than Kansas City? And Kansas City is 5-0, and the 49ers sitting here 2-3. That's got to chap you a little bit.
Well, yeah, except that the Niners have had big injuries.
Okay, but they have
McCaffrey's out.
But the Chiefs have also just lost guys. Dudes just left. Like they couldn't afford L'Jarius Sneed, and other dudes who were really impactful on their run to multiple Super Bowls are gone. So it's not injuries, but they've lost guys.
That playing long and wearing down. I mean, the Niners play long every year. Though. They were I'm saying, like, it didn't hurt them last year that they were in the NFC title game.
But does it start to catch up?
I don't know. But I mean, they've been in the NFC title game 4 out of the last 5 years.
But it definitely has caught up with McCaffrey.
Well, McCaffrey's just an old runner. I hear what you're saying, but I think that excuse might not work because they've played deep into the offseason many times and come back and reinvented themselves. I wonder if, like, eventually, like, letting all those defensive players go is catching up to them, too. They have not kept out. They've decided not to pay for all those really great linemen. I'm not sure what's going on. I think you nailed it. Get Robert Saleh back in the building. Have him as a consultant. Just bring back some of what was going on 4 years ago on defense because they're 10th overall, by the way. Like, they're not a sieve.
Right.
They're definitely, and Fred Warner, when he's on the field, is playing really well. But you're right. They're not winning games. Now they're relying on the offense, and that's not what they want to do.
The latest from Adam Schefter on McCaffrey was no setbacks, progress continuing to be made, and Schefter said October 20th could be that could be the return.
Okay.
The Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs, according to Schefter.
So that's their next game.
I believe it's what their schedule
next week.
is. Next week is Chiefs, and then after that is Cowboys, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
That's interesting about the Chiefs are 5-0, but they don't feel unbeatable. So that is again a big game. Yeah, I think if you get McCaffrey back in the goal line, like I think you give a lot of confidence. I'm not writing the season off. Even if they lose tonight, I'm not writing off the Niners.
855-212-4227. All right, so much to do. You want to weigh in on the 49ers? Love to hear how 49er fans are feeling. Boots on the ground. Feel good? Feel optimistic? Feeling a little worn out? There's just been nothing easy about this season. 855-212-4227. We also have Aaron Rodgers in his own words yesterday. What did he have to say about future defensive coordinator Robert Saleh? We'll get to that next. Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Yeah, I'm on to something. Brock Purdy's trying to be the hero. Last year, he was got rid of the ball, one of the quickest in the league. This year, he is holding on to it longer than anyone. We'll see tonight. Tonight's going to be an awesome game. If you like scoring, I think the Niners and the Seahawks will not be able to stop each other. Maggie says it's a must-win. I think I'm the excuse guy right now. I'm saying if you're a Niner fan, don't worry. Christian McCaffrey's coming back even if you lose this game.
So I'm curious, though, why do you think it's going to be so high scoring when the 49ers have all these issues in the red zone?
I don't know, because the Seahawks just let up 29 points to the New York Giants.
Well, that's fair.
That's my only counter.
Oh,
well,
right.
I mean, also, I saw a thing. The Seahawks were on the field. Their defense was on the field the entire game against the Giants, I guess, because they scored. One of them was that fumble return. So the Seahawks are super worn out from Sunday, and it's a Thursday night game. I expect both defenses to be quite ragged.
Yeah. Ryan is in California, wants to weigh in. Ryan, you're on Maggie and Perloff. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the 49ers red zone offense being a little lethargic to start the season. I've noticed it seems like the 49ers will elect to pass more in the red zone offense than when they would with CMC. Had him off the ball. But they got J.P. Mason out there doing a good job, but it seems like he kind of disappears in the red zone a little bit, and we start passing around. And then the scrambling by Brock Purdy, I don't really think it's a huge issue. I think it's become a part of his game, and most 49er fans seem to embrace that.
You guys like watching Purdy back there. Ryan, thanks so much for the time. Listen, obviously McCaffrey changes things at the goal line. Totally understand that. In the run game, the pass game, totally.
Yeah.
But it's not like you have no other weapons. I get it when Kittle's out and Debo's out, but...
Then why are you almost last in the league in red zone? You had 13 red zone drives in your 3 losses. You only got 5 TDs out of that. It's clearly McCaffrey.
Yeah, I guess. But again, I don't feel a lot of sympathy for the 49ers in that respect because you have all these other highly paid offensive weapons that you have re-signed, and you've got one of the most brilliant offensive minds as your head coach. You know, nobody should be shocked that Christian McCaffrey is missing time.
No,
the
you're
moment
right.
you sign him and then even give him more money,
But
you have to think about life without him.
That doesn't change the reality that Jordan Mason lost them, and not having a kicker lost them that game. I mean, that's what happens. Games are close. They come down to 1 or 2 plays, and the difference between McCaffrey and Mason is actually pretty significant. As Chris Sims said on Football Night in America, every 20-yard Mason run would have been a 70-yard McCaffrey run. It's a huge difference. So he'll get back.
7.5-point favorite, though. I mean, Vegas saw it as it was not going to be a close game, a touchdown game, but.
Yes, and once again, I'm telling you, if they had a kicker, they would have won that game. It's just the way it is. And here's the thing about tonight, too. I think a Thursday night, these defenses are not going to be ready. This should be, I just think the Niners defense, as you mentioned, is not scaring anybody. The Seahawks defense, with those injuries, coming off a short week, this is going to be, I think it's a get-right game for San Francisco. I really kind of like San Francisco in this one. Then again, I wouldn't bet on this team either because any lead they have, Kyle Shanahan will kind of blow it.
I mean, it's the MO. Andrew Bogish is here. He's got headlines for us this morning. Hey, Bogues.
These headlines are sponsored by Prize Picks. Football season's here, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Download Prize Picks, use code M&P, and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Let me begin with some serious stuff. Hurricane Milton took the roof off of Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg last night. Long before we know about Rays games for next season, the stadium was being used as a staging area for first responders and had 10,000 cots in place for displaced residents. As far as we know, no one was hurt inside the building. If you have not seen footage of this yet, The roof, which is not exactly fabric, but it's also not a hard stationary roof, is just gone. And I would say 3/4 of the roof, you can look right in and see the infield, the stands, the pieces of the roof are everywhere. It is.
And the cots.
And the cots are sitting there now useless, you would think, in rain. I don't think people had been in on the cots yet, but there were people in the building, as I said, first responders. So thankfully, nobody inside seems to have been injured, but the building that they needed for storm response is now off limits too.
Yeah, like where are they going to go? It's not like you have all these stadiums lying around.
Yeah.
That's awful.
On a much smaller scale, the NBA has canceled tomorrow's Magic Pelicans preseason game in Orlando because of the storm. It will not be made up. That vaunted San Diego Padre offense can't score all of a sudden. Now 15 innings without a run after last night's 8-0 loss at home in Game 4 with the Dodgers. So instead of advancing, they have to return to L.A. for Game 5 tomorrow night. Manager Mike Schilt.
I'm already excited for Friday. How fun is that going to be? Yeah, missed opportunity, a chance to close it out, didn't. Move on, play Game 5. Winner take it.
And the winner joins the Mets in the NLCS. They sent the Phillies home last night 4-1 in their Game 4 with all of those runs coming on Francisco Lindor's 6th inning grand slam. Maybe the biggest hit of his career.
This is a home run to send us to a big place, which is the National League Championship. Yeah, it's hard to rank them from 1 to 10, whatever, but it's pretty high for sure.
Wow, feel the excitement on that quote.
I love it.
You don't get to say a word.
Business.
Yeah, I like that. But
Yeah.
you set it up as the biggest hit in his career. You sound like he just lost his cat or something. What was going on there?
Him rounding the bases was nothing.
Yeah,
it was like
I
he's
like
got
it.
this very eerie calm, but then you went into the clubhouse and was like, oh, you guys are celebrating real hard in here. This is the first time they've ever had a champagne and beer celebration in Citi Field. We talked about that yesterday.
Oh, 2015 wasn't?
They never clinched anything at home.
Oh, they didn't clinch at home.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So the NLCS, no matter what, is going to start in California.
Correct.
So when are the Mets flying out?
I would think, they would leave Saturday once they know who wins Friday night, is my
so
guess.
Sunday is the game?
Yes.
So I was wondering about that. Not to get all travel person, but is there a thought to get out there? It's either going to be San Diego or LA. They're not far.
I would think it would be too difficult. Plus, they're a mess today. So, I mean, I guess they could go somewhere tomorrow. But
Hungover today.
Yeah, I don't think it's logistically smart to go to a place where you might not be staying.
Well, did they party the night away after clinching their playoff
In
spot and
Atlanta?
then win the next game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah.
Maybe they're better hungover.
Yeah. Then maybe you fly out 5 minutes before. Just don't overthink this thing. Just keep on rolling on vibes.
Because I'm wondering, even if you stay in LA, you could just take a bus to San Diego. Like it's so close.
I feel like you're getting into the Jaguars staying an extra week in London. I think you're overthinking this.
Yeah.
Well, is it an advantage? Usually it's an advantage for the Jags. I just get worried about the Mets, like the layoff. It's only a couple days, but
Yeah. That's
we've
interesting.
seen what this does. If you don't see live pitching,
This is not a layoff. This doesn't
this
count.
is 3 days.
Who did you guys want to, as Mets fans, do you have an early thought about who would you rather see, the Padres or the Dodgers?
Dodgers,
Yeah, Padres are way scarier right now.
But you just said they went 15 innings without scoring a run.
I know. We might be very, very wrong, but I think it's very good news for the Mets that the series is going 5, obviously in general, and the fact that the Dodgers could sneak back out of this would be good news.
Can I also poo-poo this Dodgers win for a second? You saved your season, congrats, but you spend $1 billion over the offseason, and you need to do a bullpen game in Game 4.
They're all hurt.
Well, that's pathetic.
I know, but-
Congrats, you won. But, to me, it's almost like, I don't want to say you're, gaming the system, but it's like, you have all the money, all the resources, you have no starting pitching.
Yeah, but
not for lack of
you're like you're the
trying.
Toronto, you're the Tampa Bay Rays, or you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's kind of pathetic.
No,
It's
but
wow, you really need a bullpen game this late in the season? Come on.
I mean, but the amount of guys they have on the DL, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in terms of team building, in terms of accomplishment, it's just you had all the money in the world, you spent all this money, you have all the resources, And a lot of Dodger fans they thought they were going to lose last night, so they were talking about it. They were like, "You mean I watched this a whole off season? We spent all this money, and we got to rely on Joe Kelly to give us 2 innings in a big game? Like, what's going on? Like, that is kind of like you shouldn't be in that position. Like, they're very fortunate to win. And I guess congrats on putting together a bullpen that could win that game, but that's not going to win you a World Series. Let me just say that.
Well, which is why I want to see them in the next round. But
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know how much blame you get for Kershaw being out, Glasnow being out, the young guy. I can't even remember.
Emmett Sheehan.
Yeah, I mean they have like 7 starters are out for the season.
I think they get all the blame for Kershaw and Glasnow being out. Those guys are made of glass. Are you kidding me?
Well, Kershaw,
Yeah, I don't know.
Never really.
Kershaw is sort of hanging on. I think that's different.
Well, yeah, but why are you relying on those guys?
I don't think they were relying on.
They were
Kershaw.
relying on Glasnow.
Well,
By the way,
Glasnow for sure.
I'm still waiting for Dustin May to turn this thing around. How's that guy
Hey, he's
doing?
out with his throat injury.
Dustin May?
Yeah, he had a throat
Oh,
injury.
I assumed his whole
That's right.
body was blood. That guy
He was
is
like puking blood,
What's
right?
the most
Yeah.
games he's ever pitched in a row without getting hurt? I mean, he's nasty. Well, what's the deal with Freddie Freeman, Andrew Bogus?
He didn't play last night.
No, I know. Is he
So-
coming back for Game 5?
I would think he's going to try, but the fact that he didn't play last night with their season on the line means, as we already knew, that he's really hurt.
Yeah.
Because
There you
you
go.
think if he's gonna try through anything, he's gonna try through an elimination game.
I just,
and he didn't.
you guys as Mets fans, I wouldn't say either. I would not answer that question. Never say, who do you want to see in the next round? You know, there's an idea that MLB teams would be able to pick their opponent. I would never do that. That's
But
like
you
the.
asked us.
No, I'm just saying, I would take the 5th. Like, you do not want to provide bulletin board material for whoever advances.
Yeah, I don't think
So you were
Mookie Betts is
setting us
listening to
up.
us.
You're setting us up?
Yeah,
Shohei
well, you guys
Ohtani,
should
I want
be.
you.
Guys are inexperienced. Should be savvy enough to know. We're just happy
not
to
the
be.
actual Mets.
You don't think that your attitude as a fan is going to ultimately determine the outcome of the series?
not on this front, no.
Maggie, you agree with me. Where you stand.
Now I feel a little bamboozled. Like you set us up because you thought that we would say an answer, and then you're like, ha ha.
I'm not saying haha. If the Dodgers end up winning this, you're going to blame yourselves for saying we wanted to see the Dodgers.
This is
You're like,
where I also get upset about the Philly fan because you have like 2 championships in like 40 years, and now you're like, oh, you young guys, you
This
guys
is how
don't know
it's
what
done.
this is like.
Yeah, let me show you
Let
how
me
to
show
win.
you how it's done.
Yeah.
This is how you're really being underdog. You don't say like you're not a winning city.
do you remember a couple weeks ago when I said how obnoxious is EJ going to be if the Hurricanes win? America, I
Hurricanes.
present Exhibit A.
How am I obnoxious? He's telling me I shouldn't say what team I think I should win.
Oh,
What
I
are you
think
talking
Philly
about?
fans are pathetic. I think you Dodger fans are so pathetic. I think you so-and-so
I didn't say anything
fans are
about
so
Dodgers. I didn't
pathetic.
say
This
anything
is
about Dodger
weak.
fans. I
Not
said
the
Dodger fans
fans.
agreed with me. I was actually parroting what they were saying on social media.
You're saying the Dodgers
God,
organization.
you as a front runner is not good, EJ. I prefer you as a humble fan.
How was this? How did he turn this on me?
Because
he literally started this by asking us a question that he already knew the answer to, that he was going to turn on us, and now I'm the one who's obnoxious.
you just sat there. You're like, man, this Dodgers staff is pathetic. We're all like, dude, they're injured. You're like, this is so weak.
Every person we talked about the Dodgers has said this. Malik B,
I just don't know what
Jeff
they would have done
Francoeur.
about it. Like that's the thing. They put a lot of money. Yeah, relying it all on Kershaw, but Glass now, I get it. He's missed time, but he was pitching great before he got hurt. The guy's got all the talent. He's not old. You know, you think if he could stay healthy, I can't really kill the Dodgers for guys getting hurt.
I'm just saying the team that has an infinite margin for error need a bullpen game in a must-win game.
I know.
Is not ideal.
But they're not the first to do it. The Yankees have had to do this before. They've got an infinite, payroll
kill
too.
too.
So it's
No. It's like, trust me, this is superior Mets fans. It's going to be disgusting.
well,
I
that's
hope
an
that-
oxymoron.
Don't move me into this.
If say there's a Tigers Mets World Series, America will be so against you guys. You have no idea what's coming.
Oh, well, that's going to be obvious. What else we got, folks?
Giancarlo Stanton's solo homer, top 8, was the difference for the Yankees. They held off the Royals in KC 3-2 for a 2-1 series lead. So the Mets win, the Yankees win. New York also had Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns combining for 48 points in a 117-94 preseason win over the Wizards, and the Rangers cruising to a real win in Pittsburgh.
Out of the corner, a centering pass for Eller, and it's swiped away from him. Lafreniere carries it in. Lafreniere, pull and drag, scores! A beauty from Lafreniere!
That's from Rangers Radio. The Blue Shirts on their way to a season-opening 6-0 win in Pittsburgh. The Canadiens topped the Leafs 1-0 in their opener, and the Flames won 6-5 in overtime in Vancouver. The Texans placed wideout Nico Collins on IR yesterday with a hamstring injury, and Colts receiver Michael Pittman may miss multiple games because of a back issue. And finally, Rafael Nadal will play for Spain in the Davis Cup next month and then call it a career. The 38-year-old won 22 majors, 2 Olympic golds. He spent 209 weeks at number 1 in the world. Guys, back to you.
Bogusch, thank you so much. Quickly, George is in L.A., may have a rebuttal to the Dodgers conversation. Good morning, George.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I think the Dodgers, you don't want to play the Dodgers. I don't care if they got a bullpen or not. They still got a very strong lineup, and they can hurt you from 1-9. And be careful what you wish for, Mets fans. But anyway, getting back to
set us up. Perloff set us up on that one. That was not. We didn't wake up this morning going, let's go on the show and say we want the Dodgers. No way.
And you fell right into my
we
trap.
Fell right into it, George.
I mean, Ohtani, and I know Freeman's hurt. He has an ankle problem, but the Dodgers have a loaded lineup.
And Betts is hitting now. It's tough. You're a tough
team. I don't
team.
care if they're using relief pitching or not. They have some pretty good relievers. I know they had a lot of injuries in their starters, and there's only so much you can do, but I still think the Dodgers will beat San Diego on Friday, and they'll be ready to play the Mets.
George, if that happens, we hope that we'll hear from you.
Yeah.
It's a great series. I love watching this Padres-Dodgers series. It's been super fun.
Awesome. The subtext of that call is that George has given up on the Rams because that's the first call he's ever made without mentioning Matthew Stafford.
He basically told us that. He was like, well, guys, Maggie, thank you for picking them to win the NFC West, but I don't think it's happening this year. I think that was a bad choice by me.
Yeah, I think this is actually a huge game because you're probably not going to get the Rams going anywhere, and I'm sorry, the Bronny experiment ain't going to go well either.
Oh,
I don't think you're getting a Lakers parade. Well, I'm just saying.
You're going to put Bogusch in an insane.
No, I'm just saying the Lakers are definitely not a title threat right now. We agree on that. That has nothing to do with whether I like the Bronny experiment or not. Like that team, if you're picking the West, do not pick the Lakers.
We've got a must-win USC Penn State game this weekend. We got plenty of LA sports to keep talking about. This is a big game for Lincoln Riley.
That is a stretch.
Guys,
that's a stretch.
Don't let that loss to Minnesota throw you off the scent of USC being a factor in the Big Ten.
Factor in what sense? Like,
have you seen the metrics of teams that have to fly 2 time zones? I would say or more, but I don't know how many more. I guess unless you're playing Hawaii. If you have to fly more than 2 time zones, these Big Ten teams have been sunk.
Yeah, but
so now Penn State all of a sudden is going to be the team that's going to go and be like, no problem. Boop, boop. We're going to take care of USC? I don't think so.
Yeah, no one else does either. It's James Franklin's their head coach. Nobody thinks Penn State is a real team here.
Right. So LA sports isn't over.
Even if they win, I guess, what does that do for USC?
USC can't get into the they can't make the 12 anymore, I don't think. I mean, they're unranked now, aren't they?
They'd have to, I guess, win the conference, which may still be on the table in theory. I guess if Oregon and Ohio State lose 2 games.
We're talking about 2 lost teams getting in.
Yeah, I mean, if you win your conference, you're in. It doesn't matter. There's going to be a conference championship game. So, like, if Ohio
or if
State
you lose the conference championship game, don't you think the loser's getting in too?
Not a USC with 3 losses. I think Oregon, Ohio State with only 1 or 2, maybe. USC would have 3 at that point. Yeah. I think they're done.
I mean, also, I don't think Michigan's going to end up the season ranked either, and that's not going to. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that their schedule is helping them out at all.
Big Ten's low-key trash. Maybe not even low-key anymore. I don't know. It's like, it was Oregon and Ohio State. And maybe we'll see, like Penn State, we're going to learn a lot, I think, in the next couple of weeks. But I think the jury is still out. I mean, they were struggling against Bowling Green a couple of weeks ago.
Don't you dare discount the Indiana Hoosiers.
I was going to say Illinois.
That's like, if you Perloff jumping on bandwagons, that's like my second team now. Yeah,
Indiana. But I think everybody should be on the Indiana bandwagon. That is an amazing story.
The T-shirts they have with the Signetti and it's the Marlboro pack with his name on it. I'm like, I feel like the kids who are wearing that on campus probably have never even seen a pack of cigarettes before.
Did you see his quote last week when he was like, yeah, I'm a winner. This is what I do. Google me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never heard a head coach talk like that.
Google me.
And I'm like, and then I looked at his resume. And he like won in like Division 3, Division 2.
What level of stardom do you have to give the people Google me? Well, if you're that big of a star, you don't have to Google them.
That's the thing. It's a weird middle game, right? You have to kind of be like not that famous, but you got to be like, you got to have, you got to be certified.
You have to have a big internet presence.
Yeah.
Wikipedia page. That's what you need.
Wikipedia page.
So, by the way, their quarterback, I keep watching him play. I'm like, isn't that guy in the NFL? That's the Nathan Rourke's brother is their quarterback, right? Nathan Rourke, the guy who all of a sudden got onto the Patriots schedule. Like, this is a team of destiny. They are so much fun. I'm a big Indiana fan, although the odds of them getting through are not good.
Well, you can't be because Penn State is Philadelphia's college team. So, come on, bro. 855-212-4227. This bandwagon jumping just has to stop.
Hey, how about, I like Nebraska, too, by the way. I don't want any on that.
You can't.
Oh, my gosh.
You can't do that. Okay, we have lots more to do, including a very special guest is going to stop by. Maggie and Perloff, don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. All right, last night we told you fancy New York gala, media types from all over the industry. It was very, very fun. Yes, got a nice little honor. And, I don't like to talk about myself or anything like that. But, Pearl, when you're amongst the other women who are winning this award, that's what was truly humbling. It's not about me. It was about them. And one of the hardest working women that I have ever met in this business is Trysta Krick, who you can listen to weekends on 670 The Score. She also has the Heat Check podcast. It's her NBA podcast. Trysta was honored last night alongside. We were there together, and there's no one else I would rather be honored with. Game changers in media. Trysta, thanks so much for doing it. Congratulations to you, and thanks for getting up early for us.
Yeah, every time I think about my career, Maggie, and thank you guys so much for having me on a wonderful morning. I think about just being on Radio Row, and I told you this last night before we sat down at our table. I think about how many times when I was working at my first job where I got my first break at USA Today, basically running with scissors, making videos for the internet, interviewing athlete after athlete after athlete, just really trying to show that I could be a real media member. I was seated next to Maggie pretty much every single Super Bowl I worked for USA Today for. They put USA Today, SI, and Yahoo all back to back to back. I think they kind of categorized this all together. And so you see Maggie waking up in the morning, 6 a.m. She's there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, super pro. And so when I think about, the evolution of my career, it's hard not to think about that Maggie was kind of there as an example every step of the way when I was just really cutting my teeth.
Yeah, you should have came over to the Dan Patrick Show set where I was in a director's chair yelling, "Somebody get me a latte," as I showed up 15 minutes late. Trysta, it was much more fun what I was doing.
Perloff, what a diva. No, it was a really great night. Very funny story that we'll tell in a little bit about Dave Marinick, who is one of the big muckety-mucks here in his attempt to try to get us the actual awards. We'll do that in just a little bit.
You won an award and actually almost stole an award in the same night.
Yes, it's okay. I'll be Debbie. But Trysta, we want to talk to you about a lot of things, not just the award last night and the fun night we had, but, you're obviously all over the NBA, but also the WNBA. The finals start tonight. It's 1 versus 2, Liberty versus Lynx. I mean, where are you looking at here in the early part of the series? Who do you think has the advantage?
Well, I mean, I think that the Lynx in general have been slept on all year, right? Like you talk about it being 1 versus 2, but the line is still 6. And I know that if you were to look at what the Lynx did last round against the Sun, it was kind of these wild swings, not a lot of really close games. And you think to yourself, okay, well, you've got Jonquel Jones, you've got Breonna Stewart, you got Sabrina, but the Lynx had the best defense in the league this whole year. And so for me to feel like, all right, they're going to blow them out, that's just not something that I'm willing to do. I'm actually going to be in the building for this one. It's going to be super fun. I love Nafisa Collier points. I think you can take her, the number's 21.5. I think you look at Breonna Stewart rebounds, Sabrina threes. But for me, I'm probably going to take the under, and I'm probably going to take the Lynx to cover the number. Although, listen, adjustments within a series are a real thing. And the Liberty have been awesome, obviously just beating the defending champs.
I also feel like there's a sort of you're in New York right now, Trysta. Isn't there a feeling of destiny here? There hasn't been a championship in years and years in this city. I feel like a lot of people are looking to Liberty to break that drought. Stephen A., who had this long rant, is like, it's on you, Liberty. You got to win this one. Is that misplaced hope that they will be the team?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they were plus 250, so dollar wins you 250, and so they were the second best odds pretty much all year. Right? They're a super team. I think that's probably fair. They're now minus 250 to win the whole thing now in the final. So I think, where the money is and how people are feeling, I don't think that's misplaced at all. I think that would be a big letdown if they don't win the whole thing, considering who they just knocked off. But I just think that the Minnesota Lynx in general are just going to be a lot tougher than people think because it's a small market WNBA team. And all we really have been thinking about all year is the Fever with Caitlin Clark at number 1 with the bullet. Then you got the Aces and how much they were struggling and can they three-peat, and then the Liberty, the super team. And I just think that if you're going to look at the Liberty to win, I just think it's going to be a lot tougher than people think.
I'm going to put you on the spot. I heard about this bet, and maybe you've heard about it too. Which city is most likely to get 2 championships this season? You get the Vikings and the Lynx. You get the Liberty and one of the baseball teams. You get the Tigers and the Lions.
And
there are
City
a lot
of Champions, Detroit.
Yeah, it could be. Well, I mean, I kind of like it. I mean, the Lions, the odds are good. Trysta, if you had to pick one city, maybe there's another city too. Well, San Diego only has one team, or LA, LA with the Lakers and the Dodgers. I don't know, somebody in LA. Which team would you like?
That's such a great question. Here's what I will say. If I had to put money on it, I would say New York, just because it feels like the way that the Mets are playing right now is, like you said, team of destiny. No one expected anything. You look at how last season went, how much of an embarrassment it was. I'm on 670 The Score, where a lot of Chicago Cubs fans thought that Pete Alonso was going to be available at the deadline. So, and the momentum. And I feel like the Liberty are kind of like the anchor in this little 2-team parlay where I feel really confident that they should get it done. But the Vikings, man, the Vikings are playing the best football right now in the NFL. Like, their defense has been nasty. What Brian Flores has been able to accomplish, what we're seeing from Sam Darnold, just shows that Kevin O'Connell's right. We are failing quarterbacks far often more than they are failing the team. So it would be a close second with the Lynx and the Vikings, but really I think that the Liberty are going to get it done, so I think I have to take New York.
Trysta Krick, a top woman in media, as we found out last night, honored last night. We were together at this fun New York gala for Synopsis. Also, Weekend 670 The Score. Her podcast is called The Heat Check with Trysta Krick. So quickly, Trysta, we only have about a minute and a half left. Your Oregon Ducks. Trysta is proudly from Portland, Oregon. We're on in Portland. We've got a big following there. We love our fans in Portland. Your Oregon Ducks welcoming in Ohio State. Tell us what you think and how you think the game's going to go.
Oh, man. So the line is 3. The Ducks are underdogs at Autzen Stadium. Ohio State's playing great football. Oregon's offensive line has been shaky at times. I think we figured it out, but the back end has been really rough. We're allowing teams to just come into the house and really compete, even teams like Northern Idaho. I feel like Ohio State's going to beat us, guys. That's why I canceled my ticket.
No.
I'm not going to Autzen Stadium to walk that bridge home alone with tears in my eyes. I'm going to have to just watch it from the crib. I'm tired of watching my team in a huge spot lose. Yeah, am I a cynic? Yeah, I think I am. I'm going to take Ohio State to cover the number, -3.
We're hitting a break. Trysta, did you get a trophy? I left a little bit early.
I did. No engraving. No engraving. We'll have to sort that out.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what happened next.
Oh, I got to hear what happened.
I had to do a little Maggie sticky fingers. I made it happen. Let's just put it that way. No one needs to know what the details were.
She's a fixer.
We had a problem. It needed to be solved. And that's where you bring me in. I'm the Winston Wolf of the situation. Trysta, you're the best. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for, again, it was a late night last night. It was a fun night last night. And you're the best for doing it.
Love you guys.
Congrats again. Awesome, awesome stuff. Literally one of, if not the hardest working woman in this industry.
Oh, that was awesome. She was so much fun to hang out with last night. The two of you, just honestly, I was like, you guys could have seemed like you could have talked all night long.
I didn't know Trysta started off her career. She was a stockbroker.
Yeah, it was
how did you
great
get
story.
Here from there? She's got so much cool stuff going on. Anyway, okay, we've got to focus, Pearl. I'll give you the story of how did I steal an award last night, and also Aaron Rodgers. Sorry, buddy, just don't believe you.
You're in a 5-minute break.
On high, where the nerds stay out lower, Mary. Lower Mary High, where the nerds stay low. Perloff was a punk where Ernest ran the show. A football star with muscles and a menacing glare, but little did he know, Perloff didn't care. Oh, Ernest Pendleton, king of the school. You thought you were tough, but who's the real fool? Perloff's on the airwaves, making people laugh, while you're just a tale from Lower Merion's past. Perloff's at the wheel, Nico's fucking mess, dressed like he's ready for fantasy camp bets. Perloff lunches tacos, Nico's talking stats, but man, this ride's slower than a game of cats. Dave Matthews? No, I just can't stand the sound. Perloff's taco talk, Nico barely looks around. They're headed to San Antonio, but who really cares when Peter Belotti's nowhere, just up in thin air? Bloody as it gets on the road to San Antonio, but where's Peter Belotti? He's always on his own. Tacos next to Dave Matthews hate, but Peter Belotti's the real no-show debate. Hey, we could chat tacos, we could diss the tunes, but Peter Belotti's missed work's the real news. Nico's rockin' mess gear like it's game day. Nico's at the helm, but it's a sinking ship. He's running the board, but it's a constant trip. He's leading during breaks, it's a recurring theme. But the real problem's Peter, the one who's MIA, it seems.
This is Maggie Gray with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by AutoZone.
15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Aaron Rodgers is offended. How dare you?
At what?
How dare you imply that he in any way had anything to do with head coach Robert Saleh getting relieved of his duties, Perloff? How dare you? And furthermore, this is a man with a family, Perloff. This is a man with a family. No one should ever say that Robert Saleh is not a good head coach and doesn't deserve to have his job because, man, there's a family there. I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers, and of course I'm joking around, was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, of course, and it was embarrassing, I thought, what Rodgers was doing on that show.
All right. It's pile on Rodgers season. Okay. They're 2-3. Unload the barrel. Go ahead.
Listen, they might be 3-3 after Monday night. I'm not ruling out this season for the Jets. I'm just talking about his behavior was not only was it patronizing, in my opinion, also it's just, he said it's patently false that he has anything to do with Robert Saleh not being the head coach. And I think it's patently false that he could not have anything to do with it. He has power in the organization. He says it's overblown. That's not true because we've watched player after player and teammate after teammate of his get signed at his behest. Why would we not think that he has a lot of power in the organization? And he's like, no, it's not me. Sorry for your family. Calling out Robert Saleh's little son by name, I thought was so, he thought it was classy, I'm sure. That is classless, dude. You got to leave the family out of this right now. We know they're reeling. We know this is a bad day for them. Don't go on Pat McAfee's show and say, I'm sorry, little Adam.
Well,
little
I don't
Adam,
know.
what are you doing?
He's like, first of all, that kid was thrilled. He has his own handshake with Rodgers. That's like a thing.
And that kid's life just got turned upside down. Does he need Rodgers going on ESPN to say, I'm sorry, little buddy? How about this? Pick up the phone.
My issue is a little different.
Okay.
Rodgers is acting like, do you guys know Robert Saleh makes millions of dollars?
Yes. He's
so all the stuff about how he's like
America.
This. Right. Well, you just said his family got torn apart. Like, that's ridiculous. I thought Rodgers went too far about worrying about assistant coaches and like those guys are getting a ton of money to be vulnerable to be fired like that. Like, I'm not going to shed a tear for Robert Saleh. He hit the jackpot in his life.
Also, no other assistants got fired as far as we know. So
no. But one thing, I actually have a competing theory that I think you might buy into.
Oh.
Is it possible that Woody Johnson is just a sort of unhinged billionaire who acted extemporaneously and just said, I can't do this anymore, and did it without Rodgers? Because I think that's a possibility as well. I think Rodgers' best defense, and he won't say it, is that like Woody just decided, I don't like the way this is going, and didn't even really think it through and did it impulsively.
Oh, an impetuous billionaire?
Yeah,
I'll always believe that theory.
Yeah.
However, when they said they spoke Monday night, see, that's the part of it. And
but can you imagine those two people having a direct conversation about Robert Saleh? Maybe they talked around it. There's no way Woody said, do you think I should fire Robert Saleh? There's no way that conversation happened.
Well, you don't know, and I don't know. Rodgers said that Woody called to check on him, just to say,
Sure.
how's your knee, how's your ankle, whatever he got rolled up on in the game in London. But we had Ian O'Connor on yesterday, who literally just wrote a book about Aaron Rodgers. No one's been researching him more, and he said the relationship is really with Christopher Johnson, who's the brother, who took over when Woody Johnson became the ambassador to the UK under Donald Trump. So I think Rodgers is having conversations with Christopher as like the lieutenant, if you will. And you don't think that filters to Woody? That's two brothers who are involved in running this organization, so they can speak candidly with each other. And so I think Rodgers, if he wants to get his point across, I think there's a million ways for him to do that. Because I ask you this, like, if we flip the conversation just a little bit, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers was very offended that anyone would imply or outright say that he had anything to do with Saleh getting fired earlier this week. Let's say Rodgers banged the table for Saleh. I want him. He's the right guy. Don't do this. Let's not make a change right now. Don't you think Robert Saleh would still be the head coach?
This
yes.
week. But
The
I mean,
answer
if they
is yes.
lost to the Bills, no.
Well, you lose to the
I
Bills.
think Woody's looking at,
Fine.
why am I spending all this money on this team, and we stick. He came into this season with this crazy expectation. I really believe a lot of this is he thought he has a Super Bowl team.
He might not be wrong about that. The problem is
I think so far he looks like he is wrong about that.
Well, we'll see. But, the idea that Aaron Rodgers, I'm not saying that he necessarily ordered the code red, but he didn't stop the code red. And I do think that how Rodgers has spoken about the team, the accountability, all of that stuff, I think this matters. And I think I think the bigger thing, if he wanted to save Saleh's job, he could have done it. Let's hear from Rodgers. Can we play a little, Ryan? He cut 3 categorically denies being involved in the firing.
As far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than one sentence in response to it, and that is that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that I have, which I don't.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the evidence. Why is Alan Lazard on this team? Why was Randall Cobb on this team? Why was Tim Boyle on this team? They're all your friends. Why is Nathaniel Hackett the offensive coordinator? Do you think it's because his skill set? It's not, dude. It's not. The only reason why the Jets hired Nathaniel Hackett is because they thought it would lure Rodgers. Rodgers is the son, and the whole organization is revolving around him. For him to say differently is just insulting our intelligence.
But wait, why does everyone think that Davante Adams would be a good fit for the Jets?
Because he has a relationship with Rodgers.
Right, but that's not like a negative. So
Right.
why did they think Alan Lazard would be a good fit for the Jets? Because Rodgers knows him. So there's a logic to bring in your star quarterback's former receivers. That's not power. That's an obvious team building move.
And explain Randall Cobb.
Same thing. Get a guy who knows the offense. That's why you bring in. That happens all the time. You bring in an old guy.
washed.
Cobb he was a minimum player, but he knows the offense. He's going to coach up with the guys in the wide receiver room. That happens all the time.
And why is Nathaniel Hackett here?
Well, the Hackett thing is, I think,
he's the one guy who actually
Listen.
needs to be held accountable, and he won't because he's Rodgers' crony.
Hackett obviously is well thought of. The guy got a head coaching job. He has an NFL resume. It wasn't a crazy hire by any means. I mean, he got the head coaching job in Denver.
And what happened there?
I know it went bad, but obviously it's not like he's promoting some ball boy. It was Nathaniel Hackett's had some of the great offenses in the last 10 years of NFL. So it wasn't a crazy hire. It's of course they hired Nathaniel Hackett. That makes perfect sense.
Perloff, he didn't even call the plays the year that Rodgers won MVP in Green Bay. He's literally the fun guy in the meeting who does hip hop dance classes because Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator for the team I root for, and they weren't a great team. He didn't make it better. The other thing, too, though.
Well, right, but he obviously has a long resume as a top offensive coach. It's not like
He's got a resume of his dad being a coach and him being a coach, and he got lucky to be associated with Rodgers. And 1 year of Blake Bortles? That's
I
it.
forgot about that. That was actually another thing. I mean,
Doug Marrone got all the accolades.
But again,
for
it's
that.
not none of these moves are I think they all kind of made sense. Nobody, when they hired, there are a lot of Jets fans here. When they signed Lazard, yeah, of course, get in a guy who knows how to run that particular offense. That's fine, right? They did overpay a little bit, but it's not, none of this stuff is I'm actually on Rodgers' side in this one. None of this stuff is so smoky. He's the huge problem here.
Okay, so it might not be a problem necessarily. I just don't want to be taken for a fool. I don't want to be taken for a fool that Rodgers had no say in this, that fingerprints are not on this at all, that his fingerprints aren't on this at all. Again,
then why didn't he get rid of him in the offseason if he had so much power?
He should have. I think he was probably so focused on his rehab and returning and thought, I'll overcome it. Even though Robert Saleh is not a good head coach, I'll be able to overcome his, ineptitude. And now that's not happening. So now heads got to roll. And I guess the other part of this, too, is I just went back yesterday because if you're not going to judge on the actions, then maybe we should judge on the words. Because the fact that Rodgers was so offended by this is what offended me, frankly. And so I went back and listened to some of the things that he said at the end of the Green Bay tenure and why things got dicey before he got traded to the Jets. And a lot of it was, I feel like I should be more involved. I feel like I should have a say. If I'm running the offense, I should have a say in how it's going down. They should be leaning on me more as far as free agency is concerned. They should be including me more in how everything is running in the organization. You guys can look it up. The quotes are all right there from the horse's mouth.
Right, just like Tom Brady said the same thing.
And listen, I'm not saying that they haven't earned it. Do you don't think Tom Brady had power at Tampa? It's one thing about Belichick.
Yeah,
Belichick was running that kingdom.
Yeah, Brady brought in his guys.
He brought in his guys, and it ended up working. So don't lie to me, Aaron Rodgers, and say that you have no power in this organization. Brady would probably lie about it too, but you're like you're gaslighting me.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think like this direct line, like Rodgers got him fired after week 5. It just feels like. I think what you're saying.
Fired, but
I think
you're
saying he didn't. Yeah, but why would he say? Why is that his job to save a bad coach?
It's not. But I think when you say I'm offended that anyone would think that I was consulted in any way, even that I don't have that kind of power, and that's crap. Because the other part of the interview, and to be fair to McAfee, actually asked a follow up on it to try to drill down, or maybe AJ Hawk asked the first question and McAfee asked the follow up. Were you shocked when the news came down? And listen, Rodgers does have a future in politics because he skirted that question 100 different ways. And he said he was not surprised. Like, you can't listen to that interview.
I thought he said he was surprised.
Go back and listen to it. He
never
says that. He goes, were you shocked? I was rehabbing. And then all of a sudden we started,
He said he had no idea. He might be told. He said he.
Go back and listen.
Okay, yeah, I will.
He skirts it. And he should, because I'm sure he did have a heads up. He probably should have a heads up.
I think you need to go back and listen. He said he had no idea. He was in the training room, and he said he was totally surprised and the schedule got all changed for the day. And he was actually complaining about that.
Never said he was surprised.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have to go back to the videotape.
Let's go back. We have to go back to the videotape.
We have to parse the words now because this is what you get with Aaron Rodgers. So anyway, I think the question now is, Jeff Ulbrich, by the way, who took over as the head coach, has also not said like, oh, now I'm going to hold Aaron Rodgers' feet to the fire. It's more of the same. Like, I'm going to consult him. He's going to be a huge part of this. They all know that he has the power. That's it. He's like, why are we all afraid to talk about this? Why is Rodgers afraid to admit it? He just doesn't want to get his hands dirty because he feels what it sounded like to me trying to assuage his own guilt yesterday in some ways. Like, yes, it's going to be bad when someone gets fired. We all know that. And yet, Robert Saleh has 7 kids, and you had a relationship with one of them. This is the collateral damage. No one wants kids to be clowned at school. No one wants kids to be taken up in the, be caught up in this kind of stuff, Pearl. He doesn't have to say that. I think we all know as adults that this is not easy on people.
And I think Rodgers is the last person, quite frankly, with some of the wild things he's thrown on the Pat McAfee show about people and what's been going on, like Jimmy Kimmel, to be like, this guy is a family. Yeah, right. Like, this guy shoots from the hip about people all the time, not caring about whether they have a family, whether they're going to have crazy trolls coming after them now over his loose allegations about things like that. That was one of those things where, like, you need to sit down, buddy. You're not the guy to give me this message.
So you guys actually came away from that press conference thinking, oh, my God, Aaron Rodgers was insensitive to the Salehs? I thought he was, I agree more the first thing. He was overly sensitive to the Salehs because he felt guilty. Like, you can't tell me he came away and was like, oh, I threw that family under the bus. It was the exact opposite.
It wasn't about throwing him under the bus. It was about, I would not at that point. We all know it's difficult. I'm not bringing a spotlight onto that. And here's the thing. What he said is like, basically this guy's got a family, so kind of watch what you say media. You're on ESPN. You got a problem with how anybody's talking about it on that network, then say something. Then don't go on. You don't, and I get he's getting money to go on McAfee, but it's the people it's not just us who are skewering Robert Saleh. It's open season on Robert Saleh on that network. So if he's really got a problem, then take it up with them. What are you going to, or what, people on Twitter? Like, what do you care? And Saleh shouldn't care about that either. And his kids certainly shouldn't be exposed to that.
Well, isn't what he was saying he was kind of speaking to the NFL insiders on the McAfee show saying, stop it, stop ripping this guy. What's a better way to do that than to go on Pat McAfee, his only outlet, and say that? You're saying you should go behind the scenes and call up Jimmy Pitaro at ESPN and say, tell your guys to be nicer? That was the perfect avenue to do that.
Stop telling people how to do their jobs.
Wait, but you just said if you have a problem with Saleh, then tell ESPN.
No, I'm saying you can do that behind the scenes. Can you not?
But you just said, wait, so which is it? Stop telling them how to do their jobs or call ESPN and say, stop making fun of Saleh?
I say if you have first of all, you shouldn't even be addressing that. I don't think.
I don't know. I thought I listened to the Rodgers thing. I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. He's saying nice things about Saleh.
It's ha. It's like I took it as finger wagging. I took it as like a superiority thing. Like to EJ's point.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
Like you guys don't say anything. You shouldn't be doing this. Wag your finger. Don't say how Robert Saleh is not a good head coach. It's just the facts, man. No one's going out of their way to skewer him personally. In fact, it's the opposite. I think everyone's couching it with Saleh. Good guy, always conducted himself well. I mean, listen, he and Rodgers had their things, had their issues. The texting with Joe Beningo was just kind of unprofessional, but Joe was the one who put him on blast on that. Like, I think everyone thinks that he's actually a good dude. No one has ever, as far as I know, said anything about his character.
Can I actually make a little bit of go against the grain here?
Sure.
I was so surprised. We had Ian O'Connor on last night, who's an expert on coaches, wrote the book on Belichick. I didn't know it was so obvious that Saleh was that bad. If Ian's saying Saleh was 7-10 last year with nothing. And then he was 2-3 this year. I mean, it's very rare for a 2-3 coach to get fired. Like, this is not Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, is it? Like, all of a sudden, I actually did not realize how bad people thought Saleh was. Because his record was actually pretty darn good last year, and he's an awesome defensive coach. Like, you don't always get that. There's some guys who are just total hot messes. At least Saleh is like, God, he's one of the top defensive minds in the NFL right now.
I mean, EJ, I can defer to you on this one.
But
I think some of his decision making, like there are just straight up games he's lost for them. You know,
are there that many of them though?
Well, I mean, your margin for error is not that big in the NFL.
Won all his close games last year. It definitely didn't cost him a lot of games last year. I don't know how he won. I don't know how he beat the Eagles. That was still shocking to me.
Well, I mean, the Eagles had a hand in that.
And this year, yes, I mean. Is it the Denver? It's really the Denver game, right? He lost 10-9 to the Broncos, and that cost him his job. You saw that game. That thing was a mess. It was like nobody could throw the ball. Like it was just like, I don't know. I feel like the piling on Saleh, I actually found a bit surprising. I felt like all of a sudden, like it went from a trickle to a waterfall of criticizing. This is the worst coach ever.
So, I mean, listen, he didn't pick Zach Wilson, which I thought it was weird that Joe Douglas is kind of escaping this. They're saying, oh, this is the most talented roster. Okay, this year. And you're right. They're not even out of it. But it's funny because Woody Johnson said that it wasn't the last two games. He's actually been thinking about this for a couple years. Is that what he said? A couple years now? Yeah. It's like he's only been there for 3 years.
Okay, well,
sorry. It's just one of those things with Saleh where it's one of those things where like the periphery you can kind of paint a picture, and I think Saleh has actually, quite frankly, tried to do this. He's talked in the media about how look at coaches that have their backup quarterbacks in their records. You can paint a picture that says, hey, maybe this guy is a good coach with a better team. But if you watch this team week to week and you just see how unprepared they are and how they lose these games. You have 5 games this year. Yes, maybe the Denver game is the only game that was like a really terrible game. They have not played well in any game except for against the Patriots, and that was one of the worst teams in the NFL, maybe the worst team in the NFL. They're never prepared. They always seem to be like a second or 2 seconds or even 3 behind when it comes to like timeout management, clock management, just like preparation, what a team's going to do to start a game. Like the Vikings have been smoking people in the first quarter all season. How do you come out that unprepared for what they're going to do? You know Florida's going to come up with these looks.
But everybody else has been unprepared for the Vikings too.
But it's week 5, Pearl. Like I mean, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you see all these teams. You're like, you know what? Maybe we got to have our P's and Q's together and be ready to play this team. And you get 17-0 right out the gate.
I don't know. They lost by 1 score to the best team in the NFC. For me, that's not normally. This is not a normal firing. 2-3 is not usually when you axe a guy.
But that was also why it's pretty stunning. I mean,
it should have happened in the offseason. Like that's what we all agree. We're disagreeing on a lot of things here. We all agree if Woody Johnson wanted him out and Aaron Rodgers wanted him out, he should have been gone before the season. To do it now is so bizarre.
Yeah.
Maybe do it after they lost. If they lose to the Bills and go to 2-4, 2-3 is not when you fire your coach.
I get it, but if you know deep down that if you're at Super Bowl expectations and you know deep down You don't have a Super Bowl coach in the sidelines. Do you just play out the season and say, all right, well, I just hope whatever happens, happens? Or do you at least try with something?
Have you noticed that your
thing.
40-year-old quarterback is limping every game? He's crawling on all fours in agony. Like, that's the number one, number two, and number three storyline for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is hurt. So what are we doing? I don't care who your coach is. He couldn't throw off his back foot in that last interception. Like, the dude is hurt.
I agree with that, and that's a big problem. I think that we can talk about all this, and I think there's one thing I would give credit to Rodgers on, Maggie, is he did say, if I played better, Saleh would be here. And I think that was important to say, because at the end of the day, he's right. Like, if he plays better,
right,
Saleh's not fired. They're 3-2. They're probably skating by, or maybe they're 4-1. Maybe they steal one of these games. Maybe they beat the Vikings. Like, that's... I felt like of all the other nonsense, I heard that was kind of all I need to hear. Because at least now he knows, yep, that finger's now on you. We're not looking at anybody else now. You got to figure this thing out.
Well, I know we got to break one more thing. He did also criticize Nathaniel Hackett. That is like saying we got to do something different.
I think he knows that
yeah,
they want to
right.
make a change.
I think he's gotten the message.
Well, and you saw Jeff Ulbrich, so talking about the new head coach now, talking about the offense coordinator. He goes, no titles are going to be changing. No titles are changing, but we might make some changes. So basically,
meaning duties.
Don't embarrass Nathaniel Hackett, but we're probably going to take the play calling away from him.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tiptoeing around Hackett. Why else would you do that if not for Rodgers and the power he has in the organization, which is where this whole conversation started. So it's a lot. Are you interested? 855-212-4227 in how the Jets are going to rebound from this? Because this is a big game for them Monday night.
Yes.
I think they're going to win this game.
What is it? What's the spread out? 3?
It was 3, yeah. 2.5.
Yeah. Is anybody on the Bills healthy?
No.
Yeah.
Great question. Can they get Davante Adams in?
I read a bill, like, is Shakir, what's up with that dude? Anyway, it feels
the
like.
linchpin of the offense, you mean?
Yeah.
Shakir?
He's not even practicing yet.
No.
There's a lot of problems on that side of the ball. Man, somebody's got to win that game. Unless it's a tie.
Oh, gosh.
A tie actually would fit for where those teams are right now. Man, this. Boy.
Okay.
I love how emotional we could still get over Aaron Rodgers. Like, this has been going on since he got there, and it's still amazing that he finds new ways to be interesting.
And annoying.
I liked him talking about ayahuasca with the McAfee guys was hysterical yesterday. They do go on some strange tangents.
Strange trips. The Aaron Rodgers story. All right, let's get to prize picks because football season in full swing. Baseball playoffs, WNBA finals, college football, heavyweight weekend, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while you watch football or baseball or the WNBA. 10 million members, billions of dollars in award-winning Perloff. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. We absolutely love the app. It's easy to use, and it's something that we are on every day.
Yeah, so we're at this fancy event last night. Maggie got honored by Synopsis. Wonderful night. And I'm sitting here sweating out every Anthony Volpe at bat.
You were.
All right, you can download the Prize Picks app today and use code MNP and get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. That's code MNP on Prize Picks to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Must be present in certain states where it's lawful to wager. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
You're in a 4-minute break. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Mets in the NLCS? Improbably. This is...
You need a
Wait,
microphone.
I can't hear you.
Mood today. Banging his fist.
I mean, I am in a good mood. Woke up from a text from EJ. Let's all wear our Mets gear today. YouTube.com/InfinitySportsNet, Twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. But we've got a score to settle before we get to the headlines. So Perloff and I were arguing about Aaron Rodgers and how he came across yesterday as Pat McAfee interview, saying, how dare anybody think I have power in this organization? It's patently false. He's offended by the insinuation he had anything to do with Saleh getting fired, and he was very forceful about that. We were disagreeing about whether Rodgers said he was shocked, surprised, blindsided by it.
Right. Let's hear it.
So now we go to the videotape, or the audio
Ryan,
tape.
first, can we get a little... Court is in session. We have a question.
The Honorable Elijah Stewart.
Yes, we have a question about what Rodgers said and whether or not he was indeed shocked by Robert Saleh's firing. Let's hear clip one.
Well, I was in the training room doing rehab, and it's one of those things like in a John Wick movie is the best way to equate it, where John Wick becomes excommunicado and then everybody at the Continental's phone starts vibrating. Yeah, it was kind of like that.
Okay.
I've never seen John Wick, so does that give it away?
So I have one witness, Ryan Botcher, who has watched John Wick. So, Ryan, you had a take on this. What is your statement on this, witness statement?
Being excommunicated from the Continental is not a good thing, of course. So basically, John Wick gets excommunicated because he breaks a rule in the hotel by killing someone in the hotel. So he becomes...
Does this apply to this situation at all?
I'm getting further away from the truth here.
For everybody, which is weird. So this reference basically makes no sense. He basically just meant to say they got a mass text that everybody was surprised that something happened. But in a weird way, the excommunicado means that he's basically up for free game from everybody else.
Okay,
That's weird.
Wait, what?
All right,
it's hard to explain. John Wick becomes a bad guy.
He's skirting the question is the bottom line.
Okay, well, wait, hold on. So Pat McAfee, to his credit, the journalist that he is, asked a second follow-up question on Aaron Rodgers. And let's play clip 2.
Just through the building. Holy, a lot of that type of reaction?
I mean, there was a lot of, conversations that happened after that. I mean, listen, football is a family atmosphere. You spend more time, for many of us with these people than our own loved ones. So it's a tight-knit community. And...
Wait, what does that prove?
I think everybody was
This is why she's a game changer.
It's a simple question. Answer it.
He already talked about it 5 times in the interview.
No, this is it. This is the answer.
Order in the court. We have a verdict. Aaron Rodgers guilty.
Thank you.
He definitely skirted this question. He did not answer whether or not he was surprised about Robert Saleh's firing.
Maggie wins.
He said, but didn't he say his whole day was blown up by this? He's like, he was supposed to come.
Changed a meeting.
Yeah, he's like, he said he did not know this happened. He was supposed to come on McAfee on Tuesday, and then they changed to 12:15 practice, and he said that they had this leadership group meeting. He did not know this was coming on Tuesday.
He was asked 2 direct questions about whether or not he was surprised, and the answers you heard were the answers.
Yeah, he gave you a John Wick thing that might not even make any sense, and then we're like a family here.
After a long delay, thinking of how to dodge the question again.
Daly's in the chat, youtube.com/Infinity Sports Network. He goes, yep, exactly like John Wick, unless it's not.
Wait,
I still don't understand.
Ryan's explanation of John Wick made it even more confusing.
That's the point. It doesn't make any sense because John Wick being excommunicated is a bad thing. So, like,
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Why would it apply to him?
Why would it apply to if he could have just said it was a mass text?
Salah is excommunicated.
Yeah.
No? Right.
So it's like, in a weird way, that's like a shock that you get excommunicated, but it's like, in a weird way, they broke the rules or something. That's what it means.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is what you grasp at when you're
It
trying
felt like
to filibuster.
when I heard that, I felt like all of a sudden everyone's phone started going off. For like, whoa, what is happening?
That's what happens. But
yeah,
it's like,
it was a very whoa. The way he described the whole thing, it was a whoa. What is going on
to
here?
everyone else. And
yeah,
of
but I
course
think
they were
he
gonna
was
fire him
grouping
yesterday.
himself into that.
It's Tuesday's the off day, right? So Tuesday is basically known as players' day off. That would be the day you'd fire someone.
I just feel like if you're
Wednesday, excuse me.
I just feel like
Tuesday is the off day, but they had their schedule changed, so Tuesday was an on day for them. That's why.
Right, because they have a Monday night game.
I mean, I didn't include the first question, the first clip, but he's asked, "Were you blindsided by this?" And then we got what I felt like was John Wick filibuster. That's
because
how I
Jordan
ruled this.
Schultz reported that Rodgers was totally blindsided. He said, that was the report yesterday.
He was
and I don't think he
asked.
ever.
He could have said,
I don't think he
was
ever
shocked.
directly refuted that. I think the Schultz report still remains true. I didn't have enough
Wait,
evidence.
you believe Jordan Schultz report over Aaron Rodgers himself being
Yes,
asked
because,
about it?
because Rodgers never said I wasn't blindsided. I don't even know what he said there.
Exactly.
Right. But he didn't say. But he said early on these allegations that I had anything to do with this are patently false. So if you believe him on that, like he said, I didn't know, and then Jordan Schultz, through probably Rodgers' agent, said that he did not know this was going to happen. I don't think he ever directly refuted that. I just think he just had a weird answer that didn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Two weird answers when asked directly. Were you surprised by this? Something about John Wick and football is a family, and we all like Robert Saleh.
All right. The
But it's not
trial
like
is
a-
over.
Okay.
I'm walking out a free woman.
The verdict's been delivered.
So you guys are definitely more in tune on this than Jordan was.
No,
It's up
we're
for
listening
appeal.
to Rodgers.
I'm listening to Aaron Rodgers.
just
and
What
he's
did he
saying.
say there? Where did he say I wasn't blindsided?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why
that's
would
the
he?
point.
Why would he? Well, here's
He
here's
should
the other
just
thing,
say,
Carl.
were you shocked? Yeah, I was shocked, actually. And John Wick, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I was shocked. And you know what? It's tough because this is a family atmosphere.
But he didn't say he wasn't shocked. He just said something totally
The
different.
reason why he didn't say he was shocked is because he knew it was coming.
He didn't say I wasn't shocked. He never said I wasn't surprised. He never said anything
Right, but he
like
didn't
that.
say he was surprised.
Yeah, I mean,
either,
But he just
I mean,
didn't
he said
answer
he
the question.
wasn't.
So he didn't answer one way or the other.
which was Maggie's point.
Also, we're also kind of moving the goalposts because the question we started this with, he said on McAfee that he was blindsided, which he did not say.
He did not.
That was the ruling.
He,
what we believe now
he
is
implied
now.
I was in the way. He said I was in the PT room. Like he clearly didn't know it was going down then. He said, then they go like, well, what did you immediately do? He's like, well, I had to finish my PT exercises. Like it wasn't like an orderly, like he ordered the hit. I don't know. I just felt like Rodgers just answered. He answers every question bizarrely.
So
like any direct question, he will say something completely left field.
All this is coming back to is Rodgers being offended that anyone would think that he has power in the organization. And so the idea that, of course, he would have gotten a heads up. By the way, the franchise quarterback should get a heads up on big things because they're the de facto face of the team and the spokesperson. I don't even have a problem with it. I think it's a smart move. Just don't lie to us about it and be indignant about it. I have no power here. What are you guys talking about?
Oh my God!
That
By
to
the way,
me
you guys,
is silly.
You're all such hypocrites. If Rodgers goes off, you're just going to love him, just like you're going to be right back on that
What does
bandwagon.
that mean?
That doesn't.
I was
that has
thinking
nothing to
like
do
you
with
guys are
anything.
piling on Aaron Rodgers as calling him a hypocrite just because he's 2-3.
No, it's because he comes out and says he was offended.
What
that
are
people
you guys
think
going
he
to be?
has power?
I just what's your verdict on Aaron Rodgers? Do you like him?
It doesn't matter if we like him. I just don't. We can call him out though if he does things that are annoying.
Yeah.
And this is not a new conversation. He's been annoying for years, regardless of
And
their
this
records.
This one's actually pretty benign.
I
Yeah.
think most
Compared to some
people
of the
feel
others.
like he's a great player who is a diva and an egomaniac. And,
And
right
I feel
now,
like
he's not.
it's easier to say all that when he's struggling. I
was
think that's how it
saying that
works.
when he was good.
He got piled on the year he won an MVP.
Right.
It was
Because he
probably-
lost in the playoffs,
So
right?
probably
Like-
the year he took the most slings and arrows was probably the year he won the MVP.
oh,
because
come
of the-
on. You
because
guys
of the
really
vaccine
think
stuff.
you really don't think that he's vulnerable now because he's playing bad?
We're just talking about his coach got fired and he was out here saying I have no power in the organization, and I just said that's not true. And then you said he got blindsided by it, and I said I didn't hear him say that yesterday.
I didn't hear him say. Well, okay.
But also, but at the same time, though, I mean, like I said before the break, I mean, Rodgers also said, like, if I played better, Saleh would be here. So, he acknowledges that he should be open season for what's happened. Like, it's not, I don't feel like it's piling on necessarily if he himself is saying, I feel bad about this because I feel like if the offense played better, he would be the head coach.
There was also an inciting action here. We didn't just pick a random Thursday to start taking slings and arrows at Rodgers. Here's the other part, too. You don't have to do McAfee the day after your coach gets fired, but he wanted to come out to get this narrative out there that he had nothing to do with it. So he's trying to cover his butt. And to me, it doesn't hold water. Let's get to some headlines. Spokes.
Guys, we were told that Giancarlo Stanton couldn't run anymore, and then he stole his first base in 4 years last night in Game 4 in KC. The Yankee DH also did his usual damage.
Here's the 3-1 to Giancarlo. Swung on a high fly to left. Back goes Melendez on the track. He's at the wall, and she's gone. A Stantonian home run. He drove a high fly deep left into the Yankee bullpen to give the Yankees a 3-2 lead. Giancarlo, no si può stopparlo.
Stanton breaking a 2-2 tie, top 8. Luke Weaver got a 5-out save for a 3-2 Yankee win and a 2-1 series lead on the Royals. But let's go back to that stolen base.
He wouldn't hold me on, and he was slow to the plate, so I thought, why not?
Should we tell Shohei you're coming for him next year? 50
I might be. Let him know.
That was Stanton postgame on TBS. Over in the NL, Mookie Betts got his Dodgers going quickly in an elimination game, and he got me closer to EJ in our postseason home run derby.
So here's the payoff. Betts swings and hits a high drive, left center field and deep. Merrill at the wall. It's gone! Mookie Betts at it again. A first inning home run. He pumps his fist halfway between second and third. A low high five for Dino Ebel. His second home run in as many days. It's 1-0 Dodgers.
Steven Nelson, Dodgers radio. Betts drove in a second run. Shohei Ohtani had an RBI, and 8 relievers shut out the Padres 8-zip to force Game 5 in L.A. tomorrow. The Dodgers, the second team ever to use 8 or more relievers only for a shutout in the postseason. The Mets rode one Francisco Lindor swing to a clincher over the Phillies. Lindor, a 6th inning grand slam for a 4-1 decision in their Game 4. The Mets winning a series at home for the first time since the 2000 NL pennant. Game 1 of the NLCS is Sunday night in L.A. or San Diego.
Do we have an update, by the way, on... So EJ is obviously winning the postseason home run thing.
Yeah.
And you have how many now?
That's 2.
That's 4 for EJ, all off Tatis.
Yeah, and I have 2 Mookie Betts home runs.
So I have 6
you have
total.
Stanton now.
I have Stanton hit 1 and Ohtani hit 1 in Game 1, so I have 6 total.
I got 2. I got Lindor and Harper.
Yeah, and I got 2 Betts.
I've got 1 with Teoscar Hernandez. But just like Lindor hit a grand slam last night, Teoscar Hernandez hit a grand slam, that should mean 1.5.
It should not. Just listen, you won the Rodgers thing and last night. Just recapping yesterday's quarterback news. The Patriots confirming that Drake Maye starts against the Texans, and the Saints are going with Spencer Rattler against the Bucs because of Derek Carr's oblique injury. That'll give us 5 rookie starters this season, and the Raiders are switching from Gardner Minshew to Aiden O'Connell. As the hockey season gets chugging, the Golden Knights outscored the Avalanche 8-4 with Mark Stone scoring twice, and the Flames won in OT in Vancouver 6-5 after trailing 3-0 and 4-1, then wasting a 5-4 lead. And Rafael Nadal will end his legendary tennis career after next month's Davis Cup final. His video announcement said it's been too hard to fight through injuries the last 2 years. The 38-year-old Nadal will finish with 22 major titles, 14 of them coming at the French Open. Guys, back to you.
Can I ask you guys a quick tennis question?
Yes.
Does Alcaraz need a true rival like Federer Nadal in order for him to reach the Nadal-Federer kind of celebrity?
Great question. I think tennis definitely is made better with rivalries. Every sport is, but he's kind of such a phenom. It's not Tiger Woods, but it's a little like him versus the field could also be good enough.
I also, not to dodge the question, I think it's the fact that those three guys have 20 plus majors all at the same time. It's not supposed to happen. So like contemplating what Alcaraz needs to do to get to them seems unfair to them to just think that because he's the next guy that he's going to win 20 plus majors.
Right.
Like he needs to be ridiculously good for 15 years, regardless of whoever else is around him to even make this a conversation. Like it's so far out of anyone's reach that we shouldn't even be worrying about it yet.
I'm kind of dying to see when an American wins a men's Grand Slam event again.
Don't put your death on that.
Well, it's better now than ever, right? Though?
I mean, I guess.
The trend is definitely going in the right direction compared to what it was.
We need it. Like, we need it so bad. It's been too long.
If Tiafoe did it, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't think men's tennis is going to be that. He's got to win. Well, he wouldn't one, maybe something somewhere. Give me something bogus.
Yeah, I mean, he might win one, but
that'd be huge.
It would be huge, but it's also not the beginning of him winning 8. Like none of these
we're
guys
not getting that. You're right.
are 20 and about to be the next great player. And even the U.S. Open, which everybody got geeked up for, it took a lot of people either not showing up or losing early to make it possible for those two guys, him and Fritz, right, to be there in the semis.
It's funny, the Netflix show where they follow these guys, the only one it didn't work for is tennis. It's worked for every other one. Formula One got huge off of this. Golf, it was huge, that show. And for
Was
some
the golf
reason,
one huge? I don't remember. The tennis one I tried to watch and I couldn't care less. But the golf one, did they really get a big push off of that?
I thought that people really liked the Brooks Koepka. Like, I just watched the first season, but
I don't know. The NBA one starts when? Today?
It's just started.
Yesterday.
Yeah, I think a couple days ago.
Are all the episodes out?
No, they're doing it one
They
episode
are?
at a time.
Okay.
Which is why I haven't rushed to go get to it because I'm not getting spoiled. Apparently, LeBron was very upset about the minutes restriction, which sounds funny.
all right, we'll get to that. 855-212-4227. Lots to do. Thank you, Bogish. We check in with our favorite college football coach next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Kind of friend and teammate Andrew Perloff is. An excellent one. Came with me last night to, celebrate this really cool award that I received that I was really humbled by. And you didn't have to do it. You didn't have to be there, but you were. You were on the red carpet. You were mingling at the cocktail hour. You were doing all the things. So thank you very much for that.
You keep saying that. First of all, I was honored to be there. Everybody wanted to go. Like, that was nice of you to give me the one ticket. It was a great event. The food was great. We had steak. There was free dessert. Now, there was a dance floor at the end. I didn't see that happen. Did you get, they put out glow sticks. Did you get, I left a little bit early. Did you get on the dance floor?
I did not get on the dance floor. I was too busy trying to meet a couple people who I wanted to meet.
There was a story last night that shocked me, by the way.
What's that?
The first person who hired you, we ran into him, and he was like, Maggie, you were such a hard worker. Like, you are the person that I talk about in my classes about how to be.
Yes, right. One said to tell me when I was covering high school sports that I really had to dial it back a little bit because I was freaking out the coaches. It's like they feel like they're being investigated by you. Like, no, I'm just trying to find some fun stories. But
wait, what was it? I actually only. So what did he say? I thought it was like you were you did your sideline reports and you weren't spacing them out throughout the game enough. Like, you were emptying the chamber.
Yeah, that a little bit too. It's just like, we're gonna get to you. But no, I was so dogged in trying to make an impact, and I was really just gung-ho about being a sideline reporter for high school sports, which was on in New York City. It was a big deal, and I was proud to get the job. But I'd be like at the high school interviewing the coaches who are basically, most of them are like gym teachers or something who are just volunteering and helping out. I'd be calling college coaches.
So you were treating it like the BCS final.
I was reporting this stuff out like I was a Christian on poor. Like I took it a little too seriously, I think.
Well, that's why you got honored. Yeah, he took, it's one of those people too, is like, this is not an insult. He seemed like a great guy, but he was taking a little bit of credit for this. Like, everybody who's ever hired you takes all the credit. But actually, it sounds like he does deserve the credit because that was your first job in sports?
Yeah, it was like a big break that I had, and he was very honest with me about things I was doing well and not well, and I appreciated getting coached. I'm like a Brady type. I want to get coached hard. Like, tell me the truth. I just want to know the truth. I don't need my ego to be massaged at all. So, but this was a funny moment. So Dave Marinick, who is our big executive here, who is great and, is a boss, but doesn't make himself seem like a boss, more like a friend and here to help. And he's just awesome. So he came with us last night and we realized that Trysta Krick, who joined us earlier, who also got honored, that they wanted us to go up on stage and pose with like an actual award, which is like this rectangle made out of glass. And Trysta and I didn't have one. And they kept saying, we'll bring one over, we'll bring yours over, but they never did. So all of a sudden, Dave, as we're getting closer and closer, we know our time's coming up. Dave goes, I see a table back there. They've got some awards and boxes. I'm just going to I'll go grab yours. We're like, great, thanks, Dave. It's really nice of you. So all of a sudden, Marinick leaves, and he comes back. He's like, this is all I could find. And it was 2 awards that had 2 other women's names on them. He's like, here, you be Debbie, and you can be Linda. It's like, Dave, I can't take somebody else's award. It's got their names on it. We can't do that. Dave's like, yeah, you're right. He goes and puts them back. We almost stole somebody else's award.
So what did you do? And you're supposed to go up to the stage and pose for a photo with all the other people holding up your award.
Yeah.
So you just did not have an award?
We just didn't have them. We went up there and we were just kind of like, we faked it. And meanwhile, other women are up there. Monica McNutt, you watch on ESPN all the time, was getting honored. She's like kissing the award. Everyone's like posing with it. And Trysta and I are just like thumbs up.
Yeah. But there's a great photo on our social feed of Monica and you and Trysta and everybody else.
AJ Ross.
And AJ Ross. That was cool. You guys made the most. Like, I think your group kind of, no surprise, you're the on-air group, was the most like entertaining up there.
So I would hope so, right? Yeah. And so anyway, I just have to appreciate Dave Marinick. Yeah. That's problem solving.
Yeah.
We needed an award. He got one for us.
Didn't matter whose it was.
Didn't matter it wasn't ours. Like, congratulations for all your advancements in ad sales. Thank you.
By the way, EJ, you would have appreciated. All night I was sort of side-eyeing to see if I could corner Monica McNutt and ask her about her thoughts on Paul George. I never had an opportunity because I was like, oh, this is a great celebration, but let's be serious about the NBA Eastern Conference here, Monica. What do you have on store for me? She was, but she kept on talking to these important people, and I couldn't get in a basketball conversation.
Darn it! And
did you ever talk to her?
I did, and because I called one of her games when she was a player at Georgetown.
Oh wow!
I did 5 play-by-play games in my life, and one of them happened to be her at Georgetown playing West Virginia.
She seems incredibly nice.
Everyone there, it was a good room, inspiring room.
Bethany Frankel's speech, not the most organized speech I've ever heard in my life.
I don't know if our audience is that familiar with Bethany Frankel.
Bethany Frankel, they're probably more familiar with her than most of the sports names we mentioned. Bethany Frankel's a big A-list celebrity.
Yeah, no, she was good. I felt like I was listening to her on 1.5 speed.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun night.
Which college head coach has the hot seat waiting?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
This is the weekend that's been circled in college football for quite some time. Just good game after good game stacked on top of each other. Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We have so much NFL to get to in a bit. We got a 49ers versus Seahawks tonight. But Pearl, let's pause on college because we've got the Red River rivalry this weekend, or as you like to call it, the
Red River rivalry.
We also have Oregon hosting Ohio State. We've got Penn State traveling to USC. We've got Alabama trying to get off the mat. Welcome South Carolina. Ole Miss LSU is the other one. That
K-State, Colorado.
And K-State, Colorado. Again, it's just like the hits keep coming all weekend, or excuse me, all college football weekends. So Saturday primarily is going to be awesome. So here's the question for you.
Yeah.
Which head coach is feeling the most pressure heading into this weekend?
Okay, it's a bit of an anomaly because we know James Franklin, the Penn State coach, does very poorly in big games. He's terrible against Ohio State and Michigan. He's terrible against top 10 teams, and USC is not that. USC obviously has been disappointing this year, but I feel like this is a high-profile game because it's in a way one of the first. They've already had another Big Ten game, but this feels like the first USC home Big Ten game. And if James Franklin loses this one, I think everyone's going to see it, and it's going to look really bad for the Penn State coach. They're all the way up to number 4 now, so the expectations just keep on rising. And this sort of stigma that he can't win the big game is not going to go away. It's just going to get worse if he loses this. Honestly, this is not an excuse, but if you lose to Ohio State this year, Ohio State's got basically an NFL team. That's okay. You can't lose to a USC team that just lost to Minnesota.
Yeah, you're right. So Penn State is favored by 4 in this game.
Yeah, that's a close game.
I know. The record has not been kind to teams that are traveling more than 2 time zones, and I think that's playing into it.
Yeah. Also, too, the big game thing with James Franklin. Like this is going to be tough. You go. I don't even know where you fly out of. What was the story? They had to drive somewhere else.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. You cannot leave from State College because apparently the runway's not long enough for a plane that big to get all the way to California with all the players, equipment, all that stuff.
Well, we know that story here in New York. There's 2 airports. One of them, only one flies to California. You need a real airport. I'm surprised Harrisburg. You go direct from Harrisburg to L.A.?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a travel agent, but that's what he said.
Because I think you could connect in Chicago, or maybe you go through Cincinnati if you're flying Delta. Anyway, go ahead.
So in that same vein, before I give you who I think is the head coach who's feeling the most pressure this weekend, so you're saying James Franklin because you're coming from East Coast to West Coast.
No, I'm saying because it's a big game.
It's a big game. Do you feel like, and you also said because like this is the first time we're kind of seeing like the USC Penn State is this new world in the Big Ten that we're kind of living in?
Except that we saw USC Michigan.
Right. But do you think that Dan Lanning is under a similar type of pressure and not for the same reasons, but the idea that
West Coast team going to the Midwest.
Well, we're just they're
in order. Yeah.
It's just everyone was wondering how are you going to hold up in the Big Ten, and I think Oregon is the team that people believed would have no problems, right? Like there could be USC might have a problem, Washington might have a problem, these other teams might have a problem adjusting to life in the Big Ten, but not Oregon. Oregon's too good, the program's too deep, all that stuff, despite the fact that Washington was actually in the national title game last year. You know what I'm saying? If Oregon loses, by 2 touchdowns or something, how bad do you think that reflects on Lanning?
Not bad. I mean, just look at Ohio State's roster. I think it's 10 times more pressure on Ryan Day. I don't even think it's close. Like all the pressure. I think that's been the storyline I've been seeing. Like Ohio State, like it hasn't played anybody yet. What are they going to look like? Oregon's look kind of. Let's be honest. You bet on them against them a lot. They looked a little bit shaky. They don't look like last year. Obviously, different team than last year, which was really excellent. I think there's way more pressure. If you lose, there's no shame in losing to Ohio State because everybody you're watching is going to be a first-round pick. So I actually don't think the pressure is huge there. I think there's more on Ohio State.
Okay, and Ohio State's favored by 3 in that game. If you're giving me somebody who is probably feeling the pressure this week the most, I think it's got to be Kalen DeBoer. Because you are coming off of a loss at Vanderbilt that no one saw coming, that has made Diego Pavia a star, that had your own team, guys losing their minds basically on the field towards the end of the game. Like, you've now just suffered your first major upset as the head coach of Alabama. You welcome in South Carolina this week. You're a 21-point favorite. Kind of feels a little, I know they were on the road against Vandy, but they were, a 22.5-point favorite in that game? So you're a huge favorite in this game. You have to win this convincingly. You have to.
Wait, why? What's the difference? About the convincing part.
I think that people are going to start to have questions about Kalen DeBoer at Alabama if you, after an embarrassing loss like that, if you even just come out flat, I think people are going to start saying, uh-oh, because I don't know this is going to happen. I think that Alabama's going to be just chomping at the bit to get back on the field and really get after South Carolina. But if it's not, he doesn't have, Kirby Smart has got championships under his belt. He's got, Georgia can look a little wobbly and either lose to Bama or can, be a little bit shaky, and he's going to get the benefit of the doubt. I think Kalen DeBoer, for all the good stuff and all the positivity that he got for beating Georgia, If you lay another egg after losing to Vandy, people are going to say you don't know how to handle success. And that's a crucial part of being the head coach of Alabama.
Yeah, I worry that I actually have a different worry. Like, they have this schedule coming up, right? Like, famously, Alabama's got all these ranked teams on their schedule. I was a little worried they'd be looking ahead and not take this game seriously.
Trap game.
But coming off Vanderbilt loss, you're not in a trap game situation, right? So you saying that makes me think, well, Kalen DeBoer better be on his P's and Q's.
Yeah, you're right. That would violate the technicalities of the trap game. You can't be coming off a loss for
Which
it to
is
be a
good,
trap.
because otherwise this would be a huge trap game, because that Tennessee game is gigantic.
So it's Tennessee the next weekend, Mizzou, and then LSU. And then Mercer, and then Oklahoma. So,
Yeah,
and
see,
then
the thing,
obviously
I don't think he needs, you're right, narrative-wise, he probably does need to win convincingly, but as far as getting into the playoffs, like, I think that basically, they can afford 2 losses, right? That's, I think, an important question. Like, how do we view Alabama? How do we talk about them? They are still, like, as long as Kalen DeBoer gets to 2 losses at the end, he's fine, right? Because we still think enough of them because they beat Georgia.
definitely, I think that
Got some room to play with.
I think the committee will say, we're going to judge you more on your best win than your worst loss, I think, because it's Alabama. I don't know if other programs get that benefit of the doubt.
I mean, Alabama, man, they might get in with 3 losses.
This is the power of Alabama.
Committee likes TV ratings.
They do. Can I give you another person? You mentioned James Franklin as a college coach feeling tons of pressure this weekend. How about on the other sideline, Lincoln Riley? I mean, you're coming off of a loss to Minnesota. How the shine has come off USC. You know, they start off the season with that big win against LSU. You lose a game in Michigan. That's forgivable to me. I know Michigan's no great shakes, but that's forgivable. It's on the road at the big house. Then you lose to Minnesota. If you get blown out by Penn State, this is a guy who already, I don't want to say embattled, but I don't think the fan base is like gaga over him.
No, I almost felt like people have already given up on Lincoln Riley in a sense. Like, he's under pressure because I think there's a lot of negativity around him. Even if they, let's flip the question. If they beat Penn State, does this make everything good for Lincoln Riley?
I think it
even
goes
know.
a long way.
I don't even know. We were talking about, like, they're already pretty much pinned out of the conference title game. So there's no 12-team playoff for USC. I mean, they're not ranked. I almost feel like it's almost too late for Lincoln Riley. Could you give him a pass because he just lost to Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams?
No.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Would love to. Can't do it, though. EJ, do you have another coach who's feeling the most pressure this weekend?
I think Lane Kiffin needs to figure this out. Okay, like Ole Miss, I think this was a season where I had Jackson Dart winning the Heisman. I had Ole Miss in the Final Four. I had them win the SEC, and I don't think that it sounds crazy only because it's Ole Miss and it's Lane Kiffin, but not because of the names on the team, the expectations that they had in Mississippi. They cannot lose this game. I think if you lose this game, I think if you're Ole Miss, you probably say, all right, if you want to go to Florida, have at it, Hoss. Like, we're not really losing much here. I think if Lane Kiffin wants to really put any kind of stake in his legacy of what he's done as a head coach, they have to right this ship this week. They got to win a big game against another opponent that people respect. If they lose this week again, you're just going to say, this guy is a fraud. He's a guy that can beat up on bad teams. They're going to choke against some team that they should beat, and they're going to get blown up by Georgia and Alabama. It's just like wash, rinse, and repeat. It's going to be the same thing year in and year out. So if they lose to LSU, I know it's on the road, to go into Death Valley for a night game is, as tough as it gets in college football. But they have to win this game. There is no ifs, ands, or buts.
I feel like it's going to be crazy whatever happens. Just like last year, it's going to be like 47-42. I almost feel like this game is going to come down to some kind of wild play at the end, right? So that I wonder if there's a little less pressure on Lane Kiffin because he's another coach that we view through a certain lens. I don't know if people take him seriously to start with.
But I think he takes himself seriously, which is, I think, the problem. I think he wants people to believe that he's a big-time coach. I think he wants people to believe that he is on the par with Sarkisian, who's kind of like his Goku to Vegeta, right? Like, they both were on the USC staff.
But I think he's one of these
images of each other. But it seems like Sark is just blown right past him.
I think there's this class of college football coaches where like, well, he's an offensive genius, but he's not like a championship caliber, like Lincoln Riley, Lane Kiffin, those kind of guys. I feel like he's strongly in that category. If they don't do it this year, we'll be like, wow, we know Lane Kiffin has this amazing offense, but you're right. He's not like a serious coach like Nick Saban.
Well, I mean, because Lane's whole persona is a little like man-child-ish.
Yes,
you know?
right,
He's got
right,
a little
like-
frat guy to him, and I think he likes that. You know, whether it's an act or whether it's real. But at least Lincoln Riley has been to the college football playoff when it was a lot harder to make back when he was at Oklahoma. I don't know if they should be in the same category, but I get that you think
I feel
they
like they
are.
have a very similar vibe too. Like, yeah, people don't think they don't think Lincoln Riley teams are tough. They think they're just awesome at offense. And I don't think that people think Ole Miss is tough and hard nosed. Where like Nick Saban, even Kellen DeBoer, were like, well, that guy is pretty serious, dude.
Chuck is in the chat, youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet. He said LSU smells blood.
This game is going to be amazing.
Does LSU, though, have the ability to put the nail in the coffin for somebody? Their defense is still not good.
And you want to talk about coaching moves. I mean, you know, how they handle late game situations is just, that's all. I mean, Perloff's right. This is going to be a great game, maybe for all the wrong reasons. There's going to be some poor decisions, some bad decision making on the field, on the coaching staff. This is why this is actually going to be fun, probably. Under the lights in Tiger Stadium. I mean, this doesn't get any better than this. Two chaotic teams. Sign me up.
Yeah, last year was 55-49. Ole Miss beat Jaden Daniels in one of the worst defensive games I've ever seen.
I mean, how many people are even going to remember this game? By the time you have been tailgating for the last 2 days, drinking, eating, get to the game is like, what?
Yeah, and it better be. This is going to be worth staying up for it. What is this? How are we doing Saturday? We have to actually talk about game management from our standpoint. There's a lot of energy to expel on a Saturday. I don't know. And you guys, is there going to be baseball, or does that start Sunday for the Mets?
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday we're clear to baseball. Thank goodness.
You're clear to baseball on Saturday. All the game 5s are done Friday. I just think that. I'm worried about energy-wise. Are we going to be able to do this? We're going to have to be warriors this weekend.
I mean, you got the 3 o'clock window. I mean, you're just going to have to muscle up. You know, you've got 3:30 is when you get Texas, Oklahoma. It's when you get Penn State, USC. And Notre Dame's also on at 3:30.
Oh, you got the Red River rivalry at 3:30? Oh, boy.
Yep, that one's also at 3:30. 3:30 is when it's really going to kick in.
Yeah, and then you got a lot. Okay, but noon is the South Carolina, Alabama. There'll probably be something interesting at noon.
And also for our audience, I know there's a lot of Clemson people in our audience too.
Then is there a London game on Sunday? I mean, this might be.
Of course there is.
Honestly, just send a note to your family saying, I love you, I miss you, I'll see you Monday. This is going to be that kind of weekend.
What is it? Jags are playing. I don't remember who their first opponent is. I have to look it up. But this begins the first of 2 games for Jacksonville.
Jags and Bears. Caleb Williams.
Actually, Maggie, and you got the Bills-Jets on Monday night. You might as well just send a note saying, see you Tuesday to everybody in the house.
How about this? I have all of my college friends are coming to New York just by random. Some of my best friends. It's the first time we've all been together in 9 years. Because they all live in different cities. And it's hard. You know, everyone's got kids. They got families. People living overseas. 9 years.
At a certain point, does the statute of limitations just end on when you could hang out with me again? 9 years is a long time.
But we talk all the time.
Okay.
We've got our WhatsApp chain is lit.
You guys going to rage? What's the plan? Is it going to relive the college days?
The college days never stopped for some of these girls. Some of them are have families, and some of them just kept the party going, and in an awesome way.
I hate it. It's a random thing. It's not that random, but have you guys ever seen the show Friends from College?
Yeah.
Netflix.
I like that show.
I feel like this almost sounds a little
There's
bit
no
like
guys.
this.
It's all girls.
Okay.
Yeah. That show is a great. Fred Savage, Keegan-Michael Key. I mean, brilliant show.
One of the worst things Netflix has ever done. No one give us one season of that.
Yeah, it was silly. But no, you're asking, are we going to relive the college days? College days never ended.
Oh, Maggie's going to be a puddle. Because, this is crazy. And then you have must-see games all day Saturday, all day Sunday, baseball. You're going to have 7 screens going. We were talking the other day about how you do multiple screens.
Yeah.
There's nobody Maggie has an iPad in one corner, anything that can receive a signal from the outside will either have football or baseball in it.
Maggie's got a beeper on
Missouri, just shoving her 5-year-old son out of the way.
Well, the other fun part is that when you're a woman in this business, your friends don't actually really know what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, wait, you have to watch what now?
Yeah. So I got to I basically have a game on my phone while everyone's cheersing with like shots. And I'm like, whoa.
Is that a woman thing though? Because I feel like I feel like my Andrea's always asking me, so what does your friend do again? I'm like, I don't know.
That's true. In this day and age, job titles are like, they're out there, man.
Totally.
Like, what do you do? It's like, I do big picture analysis for. Also, you talk about statute of limitations. How long before you can ask a friend, even a close one, what do you do for a living? Because I did have a friend like that. We were close. Like he could be my emergency contact. I could have been his. We were very, very good friends. No freaking clue what he did for a living.
Wait,
no clue.
That's weird.
You think so? It was something in philanthropy, like nonprofit space, but it was always switching. I never really wanted to ask because it felt like it had gone too long.
I kind of know what all my friends do.
Really?
Do you guys not know what your friends do for a living?
I feel like I know one of them for sure. My close group. There's definitely one where it's kind of like up in the air.
Right.
Okay.
I know some of the stuff he does, but there's no way that's all he does.
Right. It's not like the person is an accountant or a lawyer or
right. If you're an
or a
emergency
teacher.
room doctor, then I think we know.
Yeah,
but
yeah. If you're a teacher, it's easy. Like you're saying that's not the easy labels anymore.
I think people do a lot of different things. And I was just having lunch with a friend recently who moved to Denver, Colorado, and she said that you don't even, when you ask somebody, what do you do? They are not referring to your line of work. When you ask somebody, what do you do there? It's like, do you mountain bike? Do you kayak? Are you a long distance runner? Are you? It's like, what do you do in your leisure time?
That's Colorado. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you meant like what form of marijuana do you take? Is that like,
Are you vaping? Are you eating
yeah.
edibles? Yeah, that's the second conversation.
That's mean. Actually, I don't know if that's mean. Colorado probably wouldn't mind me saying that at all.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. All right. We need to. I'm telling you, let's not go into this weekend lightly. We need to plan the sleep out because
Suddenly nervous.
Yeah, no, you should be. I know how your life works. It's gonna be Sunday night. Our production call. It's gonna be like Maggie's gonna be like, she's gonna be like, cut me, coach, put me in. You're gonna be like a boxer in the corner.
Cut me, Mick. I'm seeing 3 of them out there. I'll punch the one in the middle. 855-212-4227. Coming up, we check in on the Cowboys. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Perloff. Lots of NFL storylines to get to. For that, we welcome in Jori Epstein, who's a senior NFL reporter for Yahoo Sports and someone we're big fans of, been reading a long time. Jori, thanks so much for the time today. How are you?
Maggie, Andrew, great to see you. I am doing well. How are y'all doing?
I mean, better than Robert Saleh, but aren't we all? I don't mean to make a joke and make light of it, but it's obviously the biggest topic this week. And only Aaron Rodgers, Jori, could get us parsing a Pat McAfee interview about did he know? Was he shocked? You know, do you think that Rodgers played any role, implicit or explicit, about Saleh getting fired?
Right. Woody Johnson tells us on the phone the other day that this was not a conversation he was having with Aaron Rodgers. This was a decision he makes on his own. And Aaron Rodgers also says, yes, Woody called me on Monday night, but you know what? It is not his responsibility to tell me what he's thinking. It's inconsequential whether he knew when he called me Monday night that he was going to fire Saleh on Tuesday. I would say whether or not Rodgers told Woody Johnson he did not want Saleh to be the coach on that Monday night call, his actions for months now have said something. And so, look, if you are going to publicly disagree with your coach over and over again when you're a four-time MVP and you know the power that you have in the organization, that is going to impact your team owner, whether or not the final nail in the coffin is something that Aaron Rodgers did.
But I'm a little confused by all this. Like, Aaron Rodgers seems to be going over the top on how much he loves Robert Saleh. And why didn't he push to get him fired in the offseason if there were so many problems?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we've got a segment on the podcast I do with Yahoo called Two Things Can Be True at Once. And I think two things can be true here, which is that Aaron Rodgers might not have thought Robert Saleh was the best coach to lead the Jets to a deep playoff run. And also, he's really close with Robert Saleh's family, and particularly, as he told us yesterday, his son Adam, who he threw at that training camp. So I think part of this is also, okay, what did Robert Saleh want to do with offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett? The offense is not working. Hackett has had a lot of trouble for years now, both with Denver and the Jets. But Rodgers and Hackett, like, that's his guy. And so I think there's an element there too.
Jori Epstein's joining us. She's a senior NFL reporter for Yahoo. On the field, forget all the drama off, but on the field, Jori, do you think that the Jets are a contender, a Super Bowl contender? What tier do you put them in?
I think Super Bowl contender is a little bit generous right now. I think a playoff contender. I mean, look, it's funny. They haven't been to the playoffs since the 2010 season. And so getting back to the playoffs, like, we can't call that an exact failure, even if it's not what they meant to do when they set out to get Aaron Rodgers and put this king's ransom for them. Like, this organization needs to get over the playoff hump. The problem is the defense was their best unit. Now they've got rid of their top defensive mind. Their next defensive mind is going to be managing game day responsibilities. And they still don't have a fix for their offense. And so I think until they really figure out what is wrong with this offense and how to get it consistently firing, how to consistently get a connection between Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson, I struggle to really think of them as a true playoff contender in a talented division, at least in some teams.
All right, Jori, I can give you a fix. I think everyone's talking about it. How about adding Davante Adams as a fix? Do you think the Jets are still the front runner to trade for Adams?
Yeah, it's a great question, Andrew. I loved the reports this week of like things have slowed down a little bit. And I'm just picturing that time when someone's telling Davante, like, hey, we're a little busy right now. HR isn't quite ready for you, but like next week we'll follow up with your application. I do think that the Jets are a front runner, but I think the problem is that you can say, what do the Jets want and what does Davante want? Yes, Davante would love to play with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers in New York, who he's played with before, or like Derek Carr in New Orleans. But neither of those teams are necessarily on the trajectory that he wants. And so I think that when I talk to people around the league, I keep hearing from different front office and coaches people that they think Davante is going to want to go to a contender, both for the playoffs and also, look, he's got another deal he's trying to get if he doesn't get it before this deal. And so Baltimore is a team that keeps coming up when I talk to people around the league.
Interesting. Jori Epstein is joining us. Well, we talked to Larry Fitzgerald, not to name drop. We talked to Larry Fitzgerald earlier this week, who he said Baltimore is the scariest. He liked Buffalo, but he said Baltimore would be the scariest because with a running attack like that and then Davante Adams getting a lot of one-on-ones, he could be deadly. Jori Epstein joining us, senior NFL reporter for Yahoo. Jori, take the temperature of the Cowboys for us right now. Sky was falling after 2 losses, now after 2 wins with the Lions coming to town. Where do you see this? And the fact that the Cowboys have said they don't have enough money for Davante Adams, are you even buying that?
Yeah, it's funny. I grew up in Dallas, so there's a lot of people in my family who ask me a lot of Cowboys questions. And my dad was asking me recently, well, like, but don't you think Davante Adams will make us better? And I'm like, Dad, the top 2 issues for the Cowboys are they can't run the ball and they can't stop the run, which stopping the run has been less of an issue than it was at the beginning of the season, but I wouldn't say it's fixed. I think that's more about the opponents they faced the last couple of weeks. If those are your top 2 issues, sure, Davante Adams adds you another threat, but I don't think that that is your top problem. I think Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb need to figure that out. Now, do I think it helps because it takes a little bit of the pressure and the attention defensively off CeeDee? Yes. I don't think that that is what's in their best interest for this season, though, or for the seasons going forward. In terms of the pulse, what I think is helpful for the Cowboys is I heard a story a couple weeks ago going into Thursday Night Football, basically looking at how the Cowboys overwhelmingly have had like massive swings in their games. So almost all of their games, they've either led by 14 plus points or trailed by 14 plus points. And it was really rare that when the Cowboys were in a close game, they would come back. And it was really rare that when they didn't have this big lead, which was in part because their pass rush was able to do more when they were ahead, among other things, and their offense was able to run more of the game plan. What I think is helpful for the Cowboys is the last 2 weeks against the Giants and the Steelers, they really did have to pull out that game at the end in both of those games. And maybe the caliber of competition wasn't ultimately what they need to get over the playoff hump or get over the hump of a deep playoff run. But I do think there's something the team can take from having a type of win that they really had not seen often in recent years.
Jori, you look at the NFC now that the Niners are struggling, it feels more open. I think the team to beat is coming to Dallas this weekend in Detroit. Who's your favorite in the NFC?
Okay, I know that we don't want to get too high on a team early in the season, but I was doing research also on the 5-0 teams. 17 of the 19 teams who went 5-0 to start the season in the decade before this year went on to make the playoffs. The last two NFC champions, San Francisco last year and Philly the year before, started the season 5-0. I think you can get to 3-0 on the season and have it be like a little bit of a fluke. You're a good team, but not a great team, but you got an easy season. You got a good break with injuries. I don't think you can get to 5-0 on a fluke. And so I think that until the Minnesota Vikings show us otherwise, why do we think the Lions are better than the Vikings? I think this year, look at what the Vikings have done defensively, what Brian Flores has done to a lot of good quarterbacks. I'm still going with the Vikings for now.
Jori Epstein joining us. Last one from me, Jori, and you got a game tonight, obviously, San Francisco and Seattle. You know, all of a sudden, after two blown leads, here's San Francisco 0-2 in the division. How big is this game for them?
This game is huge for San Francisco, and I think that's why I think that they're ultimately going to be able to overcome this. I think that, Seattle might be a little bit healthier, but this is a division game. This means that Kyle Shanahan knows his opponent so well, even if it's a new coach on the other side of the ball. I do think that San Francisco needs this more than Seattle needs it. They need it to figure out what they can do to get back to what they're doing relative to expectations, and I think that they're going to be more fired up, figure out a way to win, and ultimately this will be a San Francisco game.
Jori, you should have your dad text me. I think I would have been more receptive to the Davante Adams take. Because I keep watching the Cowboys. I say this to Maggie all the time. I'm like, all in. Why isn't Derrick Henry there? And no team needs Davante Adams more than the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. My dad told me the other day, he's like, but don't you see what Derrick Henry did for Baltimore? Do you see what he could have done for Dallas? And I'm like, look, you could convince me of that one, Dad, because it is a fantastic player at the position of need. I don't know that. Like, Davante is not the top position of need. They just paid CeeDee Lamb. Yeah. But I do agree with you. If it was this season and nothing else, yes, Davante makes you a better team.
Jori, don't let Perloff talk to your dad on text. Perloff's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. No. Your dad doesn't need that kind of aggravation. I'm sure he's a nice guy. You don't want McLovin coming around to say, chalk trash.
No, Jori, I'll give you, my dad can text you because he complains about Jalen Hurts all day long. So you take my dad's Jalen Hurts text, and I'll take yours dad Cowboys text.
I think that's a fair trade-off. Maggie, would you like to add any family members?
Well, she's a Bills fan. No, you don't
my own problems,
you don't want any of that smoke, Jori. Just stay away. Stay far away.
I'm liable to light myself on fire and throw myself through a table. It's not safe over here.
I will be seeing your Bills on Monday night when they come here to play the Jets, and I think that's a super interesting game, especially given that whether or not the Jets ultimately figure it out this season, we often see teams have that shot of adrenaline, that shot of urgency right after a head coach is fired, which, again, it's weird to fire a coach at 2-3. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what the Jets do.
Jori, you're not helping. You're just,
I know.
Maggie's already stressed out enough about the game. See, like, yeah.
I'm going to crawl into the table.
Jori, start telling people what they want to hear.
I'm just gonna go be quiet and think to myself in a meditative state in the corner for a little bit. Jori Epstein, senior NFL writer for Yahoo. Thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the weekend.
Maggie, Andrew, great to talk to you. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate that. I like the idea of you guys switching dads.
We all know this. I mean, I know you guys get it too. The dad text on a Sunday, there's nothing better. It's like, we blew it again. I didn't even call my dad last night. I was like, I can't do that with the Phillies. Like,
it's too raw.
It's not.
Let a day go by.
My dad power ranks. He's really into the Eagles, really into the Sixers. He has resigned on the Phillies. He's the idiot who takes the Sixers seriously. He's like, I can't believe we lost game 6 or whatever. I'm like, Dad,
this is death and taxes.
You're like a child who will not stop touching the hot stove. Why are you doing that?
I was going to ask you about that because I feel like I know my dad. I think there's only one team where you'll get all the negative attention for, because like for my dad's the Knicks. Like,
your dad Jets, only has so much bandwidth.
Like, he loves the Jets, and like he'll say, "Oh, Jets are playing well," and if they lose, I just don't hear anything. Yankees, same thing. Yankees, and then nothing. If the Knicks are struggling or there's a bad move, I'm getting like threads of messages. I think every parent has one team that they're saying, "Let me text my daughter or son about how mad I am."
You have Uncle Wayne.
I've got Uncle Wayne.
All Bills all day.
Yeah, it's usually, if it's a bad loss, we're generally not talking till about Wednesday. Got to let it just sort of breathe for a second.
In all seriousness, like, you would not text him after a bad loss.
Why would I do that to him?
Well, just to commiserate.
No, we've got to wait for it to wear off a little bit. You know?
We made it's just a little crazy.
We made a pact that we wouldn't let losses linger past Wednesday, so now that's kind of like, get it out of your system. This is our last little bit.
These are important. We ought to put together a rule book on how to deal, as a fan, how to deal with tough losses. Like, there's got to be, I feel like kind of lost sometimes. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Do I call my dad? Do I Do I wear the Phillies hat today to show solidarity? I had no idea what to do.
Oh, yeah. I generally eat.
Bill Simmons does a long walk with the dog. That's what I do now.
Is that what you do?
It's good.
Our friend Chris McMonagle over from WFAN was one of my old producers when I was there, and he used to go sit in his laundry room.
Just quietly?
Just quietly. At the Yankees, they'd lose, and he's like, it's laundry room time. And he'd just sit in the laundry room by himself.
You know what? I do not. I have a bad habit. I think a lot of you guys, do you ever go to either because your team lost or you lost a bad bet? Do you ever go to Twitter and fire off something so angry and uncharacteristic?
That. Or I'm just like on social media hoping the score changes. It's like, I don't know, maybe I was dreaming. Maybe they actually won. I don't know. We're getting off rails.
I'm not like last Sunday when I picked the Bills to win and when your coach blew that.
Yeah.
I immediately went on Twitter and said Sean McDermott must be fired right now. I was like,
it's not even your team. It was
I
just your
know.
pick.
But there's a bad beat is also a bad thing. Bogus, you wouldn't know anything about that.
Nope.
Oh,
I've got no emotions.
They're all winners for Bogish.
Oh.
I like how Maggie has a 4-day rule on bad games. The teams give themselves to the next morning. They have like a 12-hour rule.
Pro athletes don't care. They need 10 minutes.
Uncle
and they've
Wayne
already
gets
moved
to at
on.
least Wednesday.
Pros always say that. The players don't take losses nearly as hard as the fans because
No.
they're professionals and they got to prepare for another game.
Yeah, they actually have a say in the outcome of this thing.
Yes.
We just have to sit around and watch.
Like they can't wallow. They actually have to start looking at tape like an hour later.
I can't tell you, I met this guy last night who is the husband of a woman who was getting honored, and he's a state Supreme Court judge.
Okay.
Fancy, right? Up for election, all that stuff. He's a big military background, like impressive dude, does triathlons.
Show off.
I was like way out of my depth on this conversation.
Can I offer you a milk pouch?
Like, so how about those Mets? He's like, actually, I don't watch sports. I find it to be a gigantic waste of time.
I was reading a book last night.
Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, when I was checking my 20th email address. No, whatever he was doing. Anyway, he was like, yeah, I never really got into being a sports fan. I didn't understand why you'd ever wear another man's name on the back of your jersey. Why wouldn't you only want to wear your own name on the back of your jersey? And I had to look him. I was like, Judge, that was always the plan for all of us. Of course, we all wanted to be wearing our own name, but we're not good enough at sports to be athletes.
I thought you were going, well, you could wear a Yankees Aaron Judge.
He wouldn't have even gotten it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have gotten it.
But as a tennis player, your name was never on anything of yours, right? Because I remember getting my high school baseball jersey that said Bogish, and that was heavy.
Your high school baseball team had your name on it?
Yeah.
Ours actually just had our first names on the front.
Okay.
But
I would show up every year for basketball, and the bad backup center always get like, hey, Perloff, here, you're 53.
Classic number.
They don't put numbers on that. That means like you may or may not be sent down to JV. That's what 53 means.
All right, let's do a few headlines.
In the age of bat flips and slow trips around the bases, Francisco Lindor showed almost no emotion after his go-ahead grand slam last night against the Phillies. Here's his explanation.
The place is going nuts. I don't need to go nuts. We got to finish the job, and the job wasn't finished at that moment. So I'm just blessed to be the guy that drove home runs today.
They finished the job 4-1 with Edwin Diaz striking out Kyle Schwarber with 2 men on base. The Phillies season ending well shy of their World Series goals. So how do we change that, Bryce Harper?
It's got to be better. Got to finish the job. I mean, obviously, we got a great group of guys in here. Got a really good core. Just wasn't able to get the job done.
And it's Eagle season, so who cares?
No, that was a clown question, bro.
I have a question. You think that athletes turn the page quickly? Kyle Schwarber is the final out of the season.
Yeah.
How long do you think he thinks about that?
I think he goes home and he sleeps on his bed of $190 million. No, Schwarb's, you kidding me? He was probably hammered within 15 minutes of that game.
Hammered, I get. You want to make yourself forget, take the edge off.
I know. I do think professional athletes, because they have so much control, they view it differently. It's a profession. It's a job to them. It's not a job to us. We're not getting paid to be fans. We should be, because we're doing all the work.
The Mets now wait on the Padres and Dodgers. LA forcing a Game 5 back at home tomorrow with an 8-0 rout in San Diego last night. The Dodgers didn't have an actual starting pitcher, so 8 relievers combined for the shutout. The Pods now haven't scored in 15 innings. It's 20 for the Guardians, now in a 2-1 hold of the Tigers after yesterday's 3-0 final in Detroit. It was a 3-2 Yankee win in Kansas City. That's a 2-1 series lead, courtesy of Giancarlo Stanton's tie-breaking solo homer, top 8. Now, if you've been watching this series, You have seen a lot of George Brett on TV. Yankee radio analyst Susan Waldman and her friends have seen enough.
A friend of mine said to me today about George Brett, we're seeing him on the screen, George Brett is getting more TV time than Taylor Swift did when she started going to Chiefs games. Every time I look up, George Brett is on television.
1-1.
You guys can swap father threads. I need the Susan Waldman baseball friend thread. Get me in on that.
What is going on with the George Brett hate? Did they take a whole inning to talk about George Brett last night, too? Is that what, again?
I don't think it was last night. Well, you and I were out last night, so it was a little tough. I was listening to it on the radio on the way home, but it was Costas. So Costas is doing the game with Ron Darling, and he's one of the great broadcasters that we have, but apparently he was very much telling a lot of George Brett stories.
Yeah, I do think there was a George Brett interview, and I think what happened might have been like what happened with the Christian Yelich interview. It was a long inning, and instead of just going, okay, thanks, back to the booth, they just kept talking to him and barely showing the game.
Yeah.
That was last night, right?
Yeah, that was last night.
Yeah.
But he was also at Yankee Stadium in Game 2 because they showed him cheering at some point, somebody scoring a run. So he's been all over the place and on TV. And P.S. Costas has been terrible.
Well, the other part is it doesn't just have to be a George Brett thing. Remember when the Monday Night Football guys brought Jason Kelsey in the booth, and that's fine, but then they kept him for another segment. And it's like, we just didn't need that much.
I feel like George Brett's taking unnecessary shrapnel, though. Like, he didn't do anything.
No, he dn't do
He
anything.
said yes to an interview. Now the internet's crushing
Poor
him.
George Brett. Yeah, great ball player.
Rafael Nadal will retire after playing for Spain in the Davis Cup final next month. He'll leave tennis with 22 major titles. His video announcement referenced his long list of recent injuries, saying he hasn't played without limitations in at least 2 years. And a pair of 6-0 wins on the second night of the NHL season. The Rangers getting one in Pittsburgh, the Jets in Edmonton. Guys, back to you.
Bogish, thank you. Coming up, we got a pick for you for tonight's Thursday night football matchup, 49ers, Seahawks. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Dependable Player of the Week is sponsored by Depend and the Prostate Cancer Foundation, reminding you that health is a long game and screening for prostate cancer is easier than ever. Learn more at depend.com. Wow, this seems obvious.
I know it is.
I mean, come on.
Did EJ pick this one? It doesn't matter. If Ryan picked it, EJ picked
Did
it.
EJ, who's wearing all orange and blue and a Mets hat, pick this one? I don't
The Dependable
know.
Player of the Week is Francisco Lindor.
Let's go, Maggie. The correct answer, Dependable Player of the Week, Francisco Lindor's grand slam. Put the Mets ahead for good. Mets beat the Phillies, sending Bryce Harper and those bozos out to Cancun.
It must have been a hard choice for you because you might have also gone with another Pete Alonso, Beast of the Week. I don't know. Like, what other, were there 4 Mets who were your top 5? Anybody who was not a Met that you considered?
I mean, no. Number 1. 2, yes. Anybody who faced a Phillies bullpen arm or even Devin Williams probably was going to be picked because they just crushing bullpens the last few weeks.
Oh, my God. Such a great song. Anyway, let's
Devin
talk.
Williams, the backup quarterback on Ohio State.
Yes, same
Oh,
guy.
no, it's Devin Brown.
Tonight's game, 49ers, Seahawks, Pearl. You've told us a little of how you think this thing's going to play out with the over-under.
Oh, I like San Francisco. Hasn't this season, the whole NFL season has played out like the more desperate team has won. It's been that simple, right? Except for Cincinnati somehow lost.
I was going to say Cincinnati. I feel like Jacksonville lost a few where they were pretty desperate.
Yeah, but when you have the 0-3, because there's a lot of parity right now. So if you have it doesn't matter if you're, Cincinnati's 1-4 and probably is the 5th best team in the entire NFL. I'm just saying that like there's a lot of wonkiness. I feel like San Francisco is desperate here.
Okay, even as a 3.5-point favorite, just from a betting perspective, to
I
get
would
the 3
still-
and the hook.
Ugh.
I know you think it's going to go over at 49.5.
Yeah, I'll take the Niners. I feel like they've been a fluke. Now, who's this kicker that Ryan says that they signed?
Matthew Wright.
Matt Wright, huh?
See,
Ah.
never heard of him. Should I have heard of him?
Yeah, well, you said that. You said it
he
as if
bounced
like
around.
he was like Nick Folk. It
around
does
the
sound
block.
vaguely familiar. Okay.
To be honest, if you haven't heard of a kicker, though, that's probably a good thing because we've heard the ones that are bad.
By the way, I think I could, like, the Seahawks clearly have a problem too. Like, just hand the darn ball to your running backs, like, all day long.
Well,
I
their
don't know why.
offensive line was hurt for a little bit, too.
But
so
why
they
is
weren't able
Geno
to run.
throwing? It's another one. Why is he throwing 50 times a game? You have a great running back room.
Against the Giants, they were trailing.
No,
I get it. You don't want that to happen, but
that's the big narrative in Seattle. Like, really, Kenneth Walker should be leading this team, and he's not yet.
So I'm gonna just take the Seahawks plus the 3.5. Just first of all to go against Perloff, but also because it's two desperate teams. I know Seattle has a winning record, but they just got embarrassed. I mean, they were a 7-point favorite against the Giants, who came in and let a rookie running back run all over you. Not just that, the Giants pass rush got to Geno. He was taking some hits, you're right, because he was dropping back so much. He was like sitting duck back there, and Geno's pretty spry. So I think that this is give me a little Seattle. I'll take the points, and you're taking the over.
Yeah, well, it's pretty high. 49. I'll take the over, and I'll take them. By the way, so Seattle is definitely going to be without Reek Woolen. I think Byron Murphy's out too.
Yep, he is.
I just think that those injuries, I don't think they're desperate because they're like the Niners to be like, well, if we lose this game, we'll get fully together. Eventually, I don't know when their bye is, but I think they're looking at this season as a long game, being like, we know we're hurt right now. We'll get healthy eventually. Also, there's something funny about the NFC West. Like, you really don't know what's going to happen in the fourth quarter of an NFC West game.
Oh, it's been amazing. So I'm gonna go opposite you. I'm gonna take the Seattle, and I'm gonna take the under in this game. Quickly, do we think Davante Adams is still a Raider by tomorrow? Because we're getting close here. Now, the hamstring, which I thought was definitely a phantom injury, may not be. I don't know if he'd even be able to play and suit up.
Wait, do we have any real information about whether I know they keep saying that hamstring? Well, he's definitely not playing this week.
That's what they said.
Yeah, he's definitely not playing somewhere else next. I mean, if you trade for him now, if you're the Jets, that's
could you get him out there on Monday night?
No.
He knows
really?
Rodgers.
Wow, that's crazy.
If you think the hamstring's all alone, listen,
I
you
do.
can't lie because now with like betting and gambling, you don't want to. It's a little bit more monitored, but.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. All old people like me and Davante Adams have sore hamstrings. It's part of the game.
Yes, you and him, same.
If
he gets traded to the Jets, I think he's on the field Monday night.
That would be awesome.
He'd have to get traded today, though. And we had been hearing from insiders, both national insiders and maybe even a couple people in the building who thought that it was happening this week. So here we are on Thursday.
You know, Jori Epstein was on the show earlier, said Baltimore. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the Jets don't want to have to pressure to sign Davante Adams long term. They just went through a nightmare with Hassan Reddick. I think they're a little more afraid of this deal than you think.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about how the Hassan Reddick thing could be playing.
Yeah, I think
they traded
Davante
for a guy who they thought they had a handshake deal with and never did.
I said that Davante Adams wants new money. And at that age, that's really scary to teams.
Yeah, I mean, and the hamstring injury is not making it any better. Now you got a guy who's on the plus side of 30. And
also, too, we were going to lead the show with this topic. We never got to it. What's the other team that was in the news today with Davante Adams?
Buffalo Bills, keeping an eye on the situation, monitoring.
Wait, why not sign with him and be out on the field by Monday night for them? No Shakir?
That would be amazing. I'm totally for it.
Make it happen.
Yes, please.
Make it happen.
More is more. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Ryan Botcher, Andrew Bogish, Andrew Kaplan, Jori Epstein, and Trysta Krick. Guido's Coffee Drinkers. You can always download the Maggie and Perloff podcast wherever you get your pods. We'll see you here tomorrow. Finish out the week strong.